Hello, and welcome to the Weekly Scroll podcast brought to you by the Adventure Archive. My name is Ryan.
And I am Kirby. Hello.
And today, we are going to be talking about the Slipgate Chokepoint RPG, which is a supplement for the Stay Frosty RPG. And obviously with me is not Hunter, because the person said their real name. This is, as I said, Kirby of Disaster Tourism. Kirby, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing pretty good.
Nighttime,
Evening, yeah.
I guess. Yeah, my morning. Yeah. So for those that haven't watched you on our stream previously, who the heck are you?
I am the, I guess, lead writer, although I'm kind of the only writer at Disaster Tourism. We make cool stuff. We make games, I guess. Not so many games anymore, as much as trying to publish more supplemental stuff. But yeah, Disaster Tourism .games. You can find stuff there. It's cool. I'm bad at describing myself and what I do.
I think you're good. The definitely make some amazing stuff. You know, put out some nice shirts on places and things, and you know,
little t-shirt there.
Really good friend of the show. So if you're listening and you have not checked out Disaster Tourism, first of all, shame on you, and second, go check out all of their content. It's really, really fantastic. And we're going to talk about a little bit of supplemental content for one of your games today in just a little bit. But as I said, the plan is to go over Slipgate Chokepoint, which is a kind of like, it's like if 90s Doom was a tabletop role-playing game, which is absolutely fantastic, with really some beautiful art. Oh, it's so good. Beautiful art from Andrew Walter, which we'll show off a little bit. And it's all based on Stay Frosty, which you need to play this. We're going to flip through this real quick as well. But prior to doing any of that, there are a couple of Kickstarters still going on right now, kind of like, you know, I guess post Zemo. I think some of them maybe started during February, but I think we're pretty much past when anyone would call Zemo, or Zine Quest, or the month of zines, February. And one of them is based on some of your work. You put out a game called Weird, WYRD.
Yeah, last May, I think I published it initially. So almost a year ago. Yeah.
I feel like I don't understand how time works anymore, because
it literally feels like last week. Like, honestly, seriously, it's crazy.
To me, it feels like 3 years ago. So it's just like, I don't, you know, it's kind of interesting how it works. But a couple of people have put out some content for it. I know that you're putting out some supplemental content for it. I think the weird system is getting like a framework, because it's ultra light, which makes it really easy to kind of like tack stuff on for whatever game you want to play. So there's a lot of things like the profane weird and whatnot that are out. But one of the ones that's on Kickstarter right now funding, let me kick over to that page, is a little game called Weird Dungeon. So Do you want to talk about Weird Dungeon a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is not my project, but I am loosely tied to it in that Jeffrey Baker from Happy Jack Games is using the Weird framework to build this, or I guess he already did. It's a very cool book. I actually had the opportunity to play it the other night with Tony at Plus One EXP and a couple other people. I can't remember who else was in the group, and that's because I have a bad memory. But anyway, it's a really cool book. It has 11 D66 tables in it that basically allow you to generate a mega dungeon on the fly, including factions and relationships for those factions. There's I think there's level names and trap lists and enemy types and all kinds of stuff like that. And it just uses the standard weird framework that I created last year. And it doesn't really expand on that specifically. It just kind of tacks on a bunch of extra shit, which is really fucking awesome. And I'm in love with it for several reasons. One, of course, is that it's expanding on something that I made, but also it's just a really cool book even if you don't want to play with the weird framework, you don't even need to play with the weird framework. You can play it with anything, because a lot of it is just, they're just lists of ideas and concepts. And we ran it very cool for solo play. Yes. I think that Jeffrey is currently working on a supplement already for Weird Dungeon for solo play. I believe he told me that a couple days ago. But it's awesome. I mean, we ran through 2.5 hours, I think, of play, and it's prepless, like completely prepless, and it was a legitimate 2.5 hour level in a dungeon, and it was great. It was just really fun. Definitely back it, even if you, like I said, even if you don't want to play with the weird framework, it's 11 D66 lists of really cool stuff that you could use in any game you want to play. Prompts for levels and level, factions and traps and all kinds of shit. It's just really cool. And the art is fucking amazing.
Yeah, I was gonna say the art looks really, really fantastic. I love this cover art piece here, the Prison of the Mute Titan. It's like a giant, Titan on a throne, but it looks like it's actually like, and you can see tiny little people like going into the building, which they are. There's a floor worm piece, and the Titan is the cover. I love this navy and gold color
really
that
cool,
they have,
right?
for this. Yeah, it looks fantastic. And it's relatively inexpensive. If you want to go full hardcore with the dungeon print and art book, it's only $35, but the PDF is only $10, and the print and PDF is only $20 with add-ons for a couple of other things. So it's inexpensive, especially for the number of lists, like you said, and the amount of gameplay you can get for a pretty inexpensive project. So this is a really neat one. We love weird here on the Weekly Scroll, and not just because it's from a good friend Kirby, but I mean, it's how we met you in the first place. I had it on my shelf forever, and then it was like, hey, you want to come chat? So yeah. But yeah, so this is a fantastic project. It's only got 5 days left to go. So if you're listening, by the time this hits podcast or YouTube, you probably only got like 2 or 3 days left. So I would highly recommend you going to go snag that. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's like the 16th it'll be done, because today is the 10th. So yeah, right. So that's the first project we wanted to talk about today, which is Weird Dungeon. So definitely back that. Definitely excited to get that. So that should be neat. The next one is a project that we actually had on the show. Was it last week? I think maybe it was last week. It's called You're in Space and Everything's Fucked. It is a terrifying tribute to sci-fi horror in the form of a visceral, no-prep tabletop role-playing game. So this is from Nevin Holmes of Dinoberry Press, who also did some amazing things like Justicar. We reviewed Gun and Slinger on the show before, so we actually had Nevin on the show to talk about that and to talk about You're in Space, and then actually had an actual play of this that we ran. So you definitely want to go check that out. It was a really, really fun time. I love a lot of these like no or very minimal prep things. I'm just too my brain does not work well enough to get a 600-page book and prep like a 3-year campaign. Like I just can't fucking do that shit anymore. So this one is super fun. It's super visceral. I mean, it really, really, when we were playing, shit gets fucked up really fast. Like it's just horror and blood drenched violence, which is really fantastic in a really streamlined system. It is trying to get to 28,000 roughly, and it's already at 26,000 in the first couple of days. And it's absolutely worth it. I backed at if there's a limited edition tier, anyone that listens to the podcast knows that I can't not.
My next Kickstarter, I got to make something just ridiculously expensive, just so I know that I can get at least that from you.
Yeah. Listen, if you've ever seen a Max Moon Kickstarter, you know that the top tier is always going to go. So, but yeah, it's a fantastic game. It's for 2 to 5 players, and you basically play in an isolated hostile space station as a survivor trying to basically survive. Think Alien. And just a lot more blood, to be completely honest. You get 2 books with it. You get the station book, and you get the Strugglers, is what the players are called, which I really love. But it's designed so that if you're a struggler, you do not read the station book, which is basically the GM book. So there's no, because you learn about the monsters as you play. So as you fight them once, you can learn their weaknesses for the next time you fight them. So you can like learn from your play depending on how long you want to play. So it's good to not have a lot of that information. And as I said, there are multiple tiers. The limited edition tier comes with 2 hardcover versions, which are absolutely stunning, with these like skulls on them, black and red. They're beautiful. It comes in a box. It's got skull fucked dice, and it comes with like an ID badge that's like erasable, so you can actually have like a station ID badge when you play, which is super fucking cool. So a lot of fun stuff that comes with the project, and a lot of the stuff can be added as add-ons. And they're actually doing a lip balm and beard balm from +1 EXP as part of the project too. Yeah, right.
Love Tony.
Yeah, so those are fun add-ons you can have. Oh, and look at that. We got the Adventure Archive actual play right there on the page. That's us.
Oh, yeah.
As well as APs from +1. And then stretch goals, what I really want to see. Christian Sorrell is an amazing person, an amazing writer. They're the first stretch goal at 32,000. Would absolutely love to see them on in the project as well. You get Raina M and Nim as well writing some extra content. So really great looking project. You definitely want to check that out. It has quite a bit of it's got 26 days to go, so I'm not really worried about it funding. I just would really love for it to hit all of its stretch goals, which would be really fantastic. So that's, again, You're in Space and Everything's Fucked. The last one I want to talk about today is called Hell Piercers. This one looks really fucking cool. It's tactical, harrowing action. It says hell is a prison. Break its bars. Tactical hell-slaying action with base building, overwhelming build options, and map-based strategy. And this is from Sandy Pug Games. And actually, first of all, the art, stunning.
I love that art right there. It's very cool.
And so long story short, the story of this is that 6 years ago, in the center of a city on the moon made of ruined brass and arcane ritual, the Council of Socialist Gnostics perverted the magic of heaven to tear the fabric of reality and peer into the pit. And they found humanity is lost. Billions of souls lashed into a nightmare of eternal torture and toil. Their soul forms twisted into beasts of burdens, weapons, and worse. The portal was snapped shut as soon as our darkest fears were confirmed. Hell is real, and almost every human soul is trapped there. And basically, you're piercing down into hell to murder the minions of hell with your hell piercers. This is it says it's inspired by Lancer and D&D 4E. It's a very tactical, combat-focused tabletop role-playing game, which I'm really excited for. I do enjoy skirmish games, but I also like role playing. So I really, really like, and we'll get that a little bit today too, where combat focused games that have more gamified aspects to them, I really fucking enjoy. And this is one that sounds really, really amazing. And the basically choose your build, base build, do all of that kind of stuff. And they actually, prior to the campaign, they allowed people to sign up for some like pre-campaign swag, and they sent this amazing bundle of stuff. I have a picture of it on our Twitter page, but it is a print of the I'll just whip it out real quick, and let me turn off the blur in my background so people can see this. But it's this is how to run a fucking Kickstarter, is to send this kind of stuff out pre-campaign, get people hype. But this is, I think, the current mock-up of the cover, and they did this as a giant print, and it's absolutely beautiful.
Very cool.
Right? They sent a ticket to hell, which is badass. They have this card. It's just a little graphic that's on the Kickstarter page too. There's this amazing piece here with just this really dark, fun writing on the back. It's really intense. I love this piece where it goes through all of this stuff. Yeah. And then 10 Million HP Planet, which is a game we haven't talked about on the stream before, but that I absolutely love, where you literally Battle a Planet. So they did that as a print. So that was a fantastic surprise to get because I really love that game. So really, really cool pre-campaign swag. Definitely made me excited for it. I was gonna back it anyway, but that was really amazing to have. I think I lost the ticket, but I'll find it. Oh, here it is.
Gotta go to heaven now.
Right? Ew, gross. So anyway, so that's Hell Piercers. Let me get that blur back on. Like I said, the project looks amazing. The art looks amazing. It's got multiple different levels or gameplay between TACCOM, STRATCOM, and hanging out. So there's different times where you, like, the GM can choose to kind of like build up their demonic forces. The players can choose to rebuild themselves and then go back to fighting the minions of hell. The art looks fantastic, as I said. The lore, I can only imagine, is going to be great. I would say the only thing I wish a little bit more for this project is that there was more stuff with it. You know, like, I know I'm a stuff guy. We just go from...
You're a stuff guy.
I'm a stuff guy. We just went from Year in Space and Everything's Fucked. It's got all this limited edition stuff. I know that doesn't work for everybody and everybody's project, you know, but if I could get more just stuff to battle the forces of hell, that would be fantastic. But it's an amazing looking project with a lot of stretch goals. It's almost funded. It is at 26,000 on day 2 of 30, and it only needs to get to 29,000 before stretch goals. But the PDF is only $25. The physical book is $55, and it's supposed to be a pretty beefy book, which I'm excited for. And that's pretty much it for the tiers. There are some higher level tiers where you can basically like put stuff into the book, but it's pretty much just a print and digital tier. Anyway, and that's Hell Piercers. Really super excited for all 3 of these projects. All 3 still, I mean, Weird Dungeon has 5 days left, but both Hell Piercers and Year in Space has a little bit less than a month. They pretty much started right away, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't go back it because we want to get the stretch goals. So that's it. That's what we're talking about today. And then that means we are going to hop into our games for the day.
Hell yeah.
So, that caffeine is kicking in. So we are going to be talking about, as we said, Slipgate Chokepoint. Super stoked for this. Kirby, what were your initial thoughts? Like, one line when you first were like, I'm gonna let's read this book.
I didn't really know what to expect, to be honest. When I looked at the cover, I was like, oh fuck, it's an Andrew Walter art. And then but I was like, what the fuck? I don't even know what this is supposed to be. And then I realized that I had Stay Frosty, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember what that is. Okay, now I kind of understand what this is. It's like a hack, but you still have to weird dungeon to weird framework kind of thing, right? My God, this game is fucking cool though. It is. Right? It has already inspired me to do something that I don't want to talk about yet because I don't want to just start saying I'm going to do shit and then not do it. But I've got a whole notepad filled with fucking shit right now for something I'm already brainstorming because of reading this. But it is. I mean, it is everything I think I could imagine an actual Doom clone, or not a Doom. Well, I guess it is kind of a Doom clone, right? But like it's a pen and paper Doom clone, like, and it does it really well. I mean, obviously I haven't played it yet. I only read it 2 hours ago, but I want to get it to the table like ASAP. It's just so cool. The jib rules, the action economy is just super cool. The way the ammo works, it's fucking awesome. I loved it. Yeah,
game fucks. Like, this is one that I wanted to do for a while. I've really been getting into more of these combat focused games, like Hell Piercers. I mean, it's scratching an itch right at the right time for me. It really sounds fantastic. And as you said, like, if you've ever, like, this is how, if you ever want to emulate a video game, and I know there's some really fucking stupid Twitter discourse, just like there always is. Listen, if you don't want a system in your game, just go outside, and LARP, right? Like if you're FKRing that hard that you're gonna discourse about, oh, keep it for board, eat a dick. I love gamified games. I love, you can RP Monopoly if you want. But I love tabletop role-playing games that have very kind of quote-unquote video gamey or gamified mechanics. I think they're so much fucking fun. It's a game, and this is peak that. It's exactly like you said. I can't imagine a better emulation of a video game done extremely well to give you the vibe that you can get with the freedom that you also get from tabletop games. It's so much fun. Know what?
I actually disagree with you. I don't like video gamified RPGs. I actually think that it's like trying to blend media that just don't work right. But this game, it has done it. Like, that's the thing. That's why I'm not only impressed, but just like I fucking love it, because it did something that I otherwise am not really a big fan. I'm not going to say that you're stupid for liking video gamified RPGs, but but like, it's just not my thing. I think in a lot of cases, a lot of game designers, TM, focus too hard on trying to exactly mimic and replicate the feel of a video game in a medium that is not even remotely the same format or style or feel or anything, the way you interact with that medium. So it's very difficult to do that, and oftentimes it falls flat for me anyway. But this book, it fucking nailed it.
Yeah, well, not only, and not even just, I would say board games more than video games. I haven't played a lot of games that try to emulate video games, but I have played a bunch of games that bring in really amazing board game mechanics and do it well. So, for example, Kingdoms has some really, really amazing mechanics that were inspired by, what is the name of that it's like Kingdom Death or something like that, like that costs like $1 million. It's like a board game, but it's kind of like Gloomhaven.
Yeah, I think
all the minis like $1 million.
Yeah,
something like that. Board game, but really amazing mechanics that were brought in the tabletop space. Like, I love 4E. I really did. I like the, kind of like combat-centric focus, the mechanics-focused games. That's just what I enjoy. So I agree with you, not so much video games, but I really do like the gamified kind of mechanics. I like having a little bit of structure and a little bit of economy as opposed to a lot of like free form stuff. Not that I don't, obviously we love games that are also very free form, but I personally, like, if I'm running a game, I really enjoy games that have tactical stuff into it and more of like a combat focus. And I think this one, it just, as you said, like it hits the nail right on the fucking head.
Well, I think a big part of that is also the way that the rules can get out of the way, even when there's a lot of structure, even when there's a lot of guidance with the system that you're playing. A good system will not get in the way of you playing it, right? And I think that's another way that this game works so well, is that it just literally it just works. It just lets you play. It just lets you play. Like, I just think that's fucking cool. But it's still, there's a lot of rules for it. But it doesn't feel like if you don't do the thing, something's not going to work. Like, I'm in a Torchbearer campaign right now, and it's a really cool game, but there are a fuck ton of rules in that game. And if you don't do one of the things, a lot of other things get fucked up or don't work right or whatever. And I feel like this is just totally different than that.
Yeah, I think what you just said is exactly... is a perfect like inspiration or aspiration for a lot of game designers. Or I think that if it isn't, should be that if you should design a game where the rules get out of the way. I think a fantastic game that we've recently played that I felt about the rules was Guild, which is from some person named Kirby on Disaster Tourism. Yeah, but I think those kind of games are exactly what I enjoy, is a game that gives you structure, but does get out of its own way. So that's one reason, like, I really do love Troika as a system, but for me, it feels a little bit less structure than other systems, and that's always been like my personal, like, why I've leaned a little bit away from it, is because I do like slightly more structure. But again, it gets out of its own way. That's one of the reasons I love rules light game in generals, is because it gives you guidance and structure, but as you said, it won't break the game if you don't do something. There's a bunch of rules in 5e, if you don't do it the way that it's written, the game falls apart. It just completely doesn't work anymore. And yeah,
so it just becomes it just at that point it just becomes its own thing. It's yeah.
So anyway, yeah, so we're waxing on about the recent Twitter discourse, which is exactly what I was hoping for tonight. But but yeah, this again, if you ever want to play a well done game that emulated a video game, this is how to do it. And now we're actually going to show you how to do it. But first, before we get into Stay Frosty, let me make sure I go to the right page here. Before we get into Slipgate Chokepoint, I feel like we have to start with Stay Frosty, because as has been said, it is so there's Black Hack, and then there's Stay Frosty, and then there's Slipgate. So Slipgate is a hack of a hack of a hack, right? But Stay Frosty is a relatively small, straightforward system game, but there's a bunch of stuff in Slipgate that basically says you have to have this to play, so reference this to play this. So we're going to do a real quick flip through of the basics of Stay Frosty, just so when we're in Slipgate, we don't really have to bounce back and forth. So Stay Frosty, similar like content in the art, slightly different. This has got the Space Marines with the bad guy, and then you got Andrew Walter's version of Space Marines with the bad guy, which if you've ever seen anything from Troika or a bunch of other things, like I think it's Zed and Two Knots from Josh Domansky, Andrew Walter's art fucking slaps. It's really, really fantastic. And it really helps with oh my gosh, Slipgate. But the original Stay Frosty is by Casey. I'm going to say Garske. I'm not sure if it's Garske. Garske at Garske Games. Garske Games. Came out in 2017. Man, I wish there wasn't this DMR crap. Let's view this in fit with. Oh, doesn't like it. So, game over, man. The bugs are through the perimeter. The gates of hell have opened. The mothership is landing, and the captain's brain got sucked out. There's only one thing you can do, Marine, and that is to stay frosty. So listen up. You know how to play this game. You've played it like 100 times. I'm not explaining a D8 or what a hit point is. 1d20 equal to or above PC's attribute scores a success. If you have advantage, roll twice. If you have disadvantage, roll twice and take the lower. I love that, where it basically says you know how to play the fucking game. Like one of the most unnecessary.
What is an RPG?
Personally, one of the most unfucking unnecessary fucking things in games is, what is a tabletop role-playing game? I feel like if you want to do a little blurb on the back or whatever, that's totally fine, but don't waste a page space. Like, there is nobody that is picking up your game as their very first game ever, and if they are, they have a friend who's also played before. You don't need to waste 3 pages explaining what a fucking dice is. Like, I don't know if you feel the same way, but it's just like...
No, I used to be a very strong proponent of what is an RPG, and I am very much the opposite now. I have fallen away from that line of thought, and I've never been happier. It's just a waste. It's a waste of space. It's a place. I think it's just a place for a game designer TM to wax eloquent about themselves and the way that they interpret play. And I think it's kind of boring because nobody's going to fucking play your game the way that you write your game. That's just not how it works.
Well, and everybody in the world has rolled a fucking dice or flipped a fucking card. We understand the concept of mechanics. Like, everyone's played Yahtzee, right? We get it. And not only that, have you really never played Yahtzee?
I've never played Yahtzee.
Well, everyone has thrown a dice for some reason, but it's also like you're never gonna write what D20 rollover is in what is this game section, and not also talk about D20 rollover and the rules that you already wrote too. So there's no reason to explain it. So I love that. Anyway, so absolute badasses. So this is one of the things in the in Slipgate is it says roll attributes like in Stay Frosty. I don't know why they just didn't write roll 3d6 and whatever, but this is those rules. So you roll 3d6 4 times in order, and there are 4 attributes. I love 4 or less attributes. To me, 6 is too much.
Yeah. If you aren't going to have 4 or less, you need to have 12.
Yeah.
To be honest, that's my opinion. I think if you're not going to have 4 or less, then you need to write a crunchy motherfucking trad game with 1,000 attributes and 20,000 talents and 1,000,000 classes. Like, that's just how it has to be.
I agree. I think 3 and 4 to me is perfect. I just think when you start to split your like brain stuff and like all that kind of stuff into like 3 different things and everything, it's just like it's unnecessary. Like, your brain works. Yeah. So brains, brawn, dex, and will, which are pretty straightforward mechanics. I mean, it's a way to do a lot of them. Lower is better. Re-roll one of your choice, but keep the new roll. So no swapping. I like that. That's fun. It's also a system where you're probably going to die a bunch. So just like roll what you're going to roll and roll with it, you know? Yeah. Put a plus sign after the scores so they read like brains 13 plus, because a roll of 13 or higher is a success. Get it? The way that the writer, I think it's Corey, the way that Casey writes, I love this, and I think it's a perfect way to write the game. It's just like, you get it? Come on. Like, I love when the writers have like a bit of a personality and it's not so
and they carried that over into Slipgate Chokehold too, which I really like the way that they kind of mimicked the author's voice, which was cool.
I love it.
But he's writing it like he's the GM explaining it to the table, which I actually think is kind of amazing. I love that.
Yeah, it's clever. Like I think it's a way when you don't feel like when you feel like something's being explained to you, I think it can help people understand a lot easier than if they're just reading like sanitized text. A
mechanism. Yeah.
No. When the GM says, "What's your brains?" you'll say 13 plus. So choose an MOS. So a required attribute score or lower in parentheses. So armor, advantage to operate or repair an armored vehicle issued. You get cyber, which requires a brains of 11, advantage to hack computers. Engineer, which requires a brains of 11, gives you advantage on damage rolls for explosives. Infantry, reroll 1s on damage rolls for personal weapons. We're just breezing through this. So intelligence, brains 10 gives you advantage when gathering information. Medical, brains 9, advantage on healing rolls. Psyops, will 8, can use psi powers, which is fun. Spec Ops, all attributes 10, advantage on a damage roll once per fight, and ignore the tension explodes result per day. You start with D6 rank, and this is in Stay Frosty. It's different in Slipgate Chokepoint. So roll a D6, 1 through 3, you're a private. So you get 1 HP per level. And issued a combat knife. 4 through 5, you're a sergeant. Advantage on battles of will. Issued a swagger stick. And at 6, you're a lieutenant. Gives advantage to a private or sergeant once per encounter. And you're issued an auto pistol. Your hit points in this are 1d6 plus 4. There is no max HP first level, so you could just have terrible HP. That would suck. And then your standard equipment are back and breast armor, helmet, infantry rifle, 1 ammo die per weapon, and 1 ration unless otherwise noted. Roll twice on miscellaneous equipment table. And then there's armor listed here. So whole table of weapon types, their damage, range, ammo, special, all that kind of stuff. Again, we're not going to go over it too much in Stay Frosty because it's a little different in Slipgate, and that's what we're going over more today. Talked about ranges, hand-to-hand, to close, to short, to medium, to long, to extreme. A lot of ranges.
Yeah.
A lot of ranges. Reading through the adventures that I've read, at no point does it feel like extreme is necessary, because everything is pretty much like quasi dungeon or like space based. You're never in like a giant open space. So I don't know how necessary anything past like long ranges to have this many, but it's what it is. They can fire, weapons can fire out of their listed range at disadvantage. There are ammo die. After a fight, roll the ammo die of any weapon used. If the result is a 1 or 2, reduce the ammo die by 1 type. Love those kind of mechanics.
Yeah, usage die are fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, I think Cyborg has a mechanic that I like that are, it's not full usage die, but it's basically like, don't worry about bullets, but after every combat where you shot a gun, roll a d6, and if it's a 1, you're out of bullets, or you have 1 bullet left. Mm-hmm. I love games like that, but usage die is a really, really interesting mechanic. I think games like Fallen use it really extremely well from PR. But
I really like the way that Chance Phillips used it in Dancing with Bullets Under a Neon Sun, where your usage die, the mechanic is used for your HP, which I think is an excellent way to have the possibility of instant death always be lurking in a world or a genre where that you could be headshot by somebody with a pistol on the street. Like, that's just a possibility. So I really like the way that was used, and that's something I've always thought was a really clever way to use usage die as hit dice, essentially. Yeah, as insane as I said.
Yeah, Dancing with Bullets Under a Neon Sky is definitely a game we want to talk about. At some point, we actually have to talk about the Black Hack too. I feel like we just need to do like a month where we read Black Hack, White Hack, Osric, like a lot of the we've done a couple of the games that a lot of games are based on. We did Indiod, we need to do Cairn, we need to do Knave, those kind of things, because there's so many that are like this is a Black Hack. So we need to do that. And I know that Neon Sky is a Black Hack with amazing art from Dirk Leichte.
It's impressive. The artwork incredible.
Super Blood Harvest is another one that I really want to go over that's got Dirk's artwork in it. It's really fantastic. Okay, cruising still. So there are specials. So agile can be used in hand-to-hand combat. AP is armor piercing. There's blast. There's heavy weapons, large weapons, stun, suppress, terror. Miscellaneous equipment table. There's equipment. There's things. Med packs, grenade launchers, all those kind of things. What's interesting about Stay Frosty is it's more than enough rules to play the game, and Slipgate is like 5 times long, like bigger. But I feel like at its core, clearly it's a hack of it, but it really stayed the same at its core. Like the original Stay Frosty game is, I know we're just kind of cruising through it right now. It's so well done as just hitting to the bare necessities of what you needed. It kind of feels like a framework that was tacked on. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so supply die work the same way. If after an item of equipment has been used, roll the supply die. If the result is a 1 or 2, reduce supply die. So again, it's usage die. Lots of tables. Speed. In a chase, the faster vehicle has advantage on rolls to escape or give chase. Difficult terrain lowers speed. There's a section on repairing vehicles. There's a whole section of vehicles. So combat and clusterfucks. This is a really interesting part and something that Slipgate does change a little bit. So and on initiative, you roll dex. PCs who succeed go before their opponents. All who fail go after. Straightforward. And on a PC's turn, a PC may move someplace close and take one of the actions below, or forego an action and move somewhere a short distance away. So it's pretty much move an action, or don't have an action and move twice, which is very different than Slipgate, which allows for multiple attacks and actions per round.
I can't wait to talk about that.
Yeah, I know, right? So we're cruising cool. This, yeah, just so you can see the differences. But so attack, declare a target, and roll dex for range or bronze for hand-to-hand. Battle of wills, you can declare a target and roll will. If successful, the target has disadvantage on the next attack, which is interesting. On focus, you roll brains, and if successful, you gain advantage on your next attack. There's a whole section on psi powers, which is something you can do. You can do a skill roll, which is any skill that can be completed in a few seconds, or you can use a piece of equipment. Those are all the different actions you can take. And then on a GM's turn, the hostiles get to attack, and they do pretty much the same thing. There are some different things with powerful opponents. It says bolded because it's fucking important. So this is something to read. The PCs and hostiles subtract 1 from their attack rolls for every hit dice the hostile has over the PC's level. Remember, low is better for a hostile. For vehicle combat, use a PC's level. So that is an important thing to remember, obviously, because he says it's fucking important. Again, love the way it's written as, you know, not so sterile, I guess is the way that I would probably use to say that. Critical hits and misses on a roll of a 20 or a 1, roll on the appropriate foobar table. Love foobar. Love the foobar table. I don't even remember where I heard foobar the first time. Was it like Tango and Cash?
I don't know. I could have sworn foobar was from. Hold on, I gotta look this up.
For those that don't know what foobar means, it is fucked up beyond all recognition. But I can't remember the first place I heard foobar. So there is cover, light and heavy cover. Disadvantage on damage rolls is light, disadvantage on attack rolls is heavy. I really enjoy that mechanic. I really like where it's basically, it's not that you don't need to have like 3/4 and half and this and that. There's 2 versions of cover and there's 2 different things and that's it. Armor. Subtract a PC or NPC's armor from damage done to them by a successful attack. If the result is 0 or less, no damage is taken. And then we get to the important stuff. Damage and death. When a PC is reduced to 0 points, any extra damage is added to a random attribute. So a PC with 0 hit points is out for the duration of the fight, even if they are healed during the combat. If any attribute reaches 21, the PC dies. So let me read that again, because this is a really interesting mechanic for those listening. When a PC is reduced to 0, any extra damage is added to a random attribute. So you're trying to roll over your stat, right? So you might have like 14. So if you hit 0 and the damage actually takes you like to -3, let's say it adds to your brawn of 14, your brawn is now 17, which makes it harder to roll over every single time. It is a really interesting mechanic that makes roll over really nice. I also love that this system uses roll over, but doesn't convert it to some like modifier. It leaves it the flat number.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that Hunter and I both really love about D20 Roll Under. You just roll your number and run with it. I love this concept that you basically don't die. You just get worse at everything you do until you get so bad at something that you die.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
Really, really clever as opposed to you know, death checks and things like that. So healing and rest. PCs heal all of their hit points after 8 hours of rest, which is very different in Slipgate, and I love the way Slipgate does it. Each damage attribute heals 1 point per day of rest. Also, after 8 hours, rest tension. So attribute damage is really bad. And if you take, you know, 5 over, it's 5 days worth of healing to try to reduce the attribute back to where you were. So pretty brutal. Skill saves and rolls, 2 different kinds of rolls. So skill rolls are active. The PCs choose to make them. The GM declares which attribute to roll, and if it is difficult, disadvantage, or easy advantage. Pretty straightforward. When a player rolls 1, there's a foobar. Another thing I love about having the flat rolls with all that stuff is you get rid of DC. I hate DC more than fucking anything. Like, I just don't like the subjectiveness of being like, well, I feel like this is a 12 and the PC rolls an 11 and you're like, well, I was kind of going to make it a 10, but I guess not. Like, what are your thoughts on difficulty numbers that aren't pulled from other mechanics?
I'm kind of in between. I think that honestly, it depends. I don't think that for like combat stuff, I don't like the way that armor classes often work. Which is essentially just a DC. But for skill rolls, I don't know, man. I'm kind of in both camps. I don't like that it can be so fickle. And oftentimes as a GM, when I've run games, I'll sometimes just let shit slide because I'm like, if something's really important and I have just arbitrarily determined that a difficulty rating is for some reason a 13 and they've rolled a 12 and their character might die because I just didn't say 12, for some reason, you know, I just feel like it's kind of weird. But Also, sometimes that's fun. You'd be like, you have to hit a 13 and the person rolls a 12 and you're like, sorry, you missed the jump and you fall into the chasm of death and you are gone forever. Like,
Yeah.
So, but I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah, I'm kind of in between on that.
Yeah, I think it really depends on the other rules around it. But
Yeah.
I just like reducing fiddliness, where
Yeah, for
things
sure.
can be, kind of, one way or another.
Yeah,
And
I
that's
think if there's
and
if there's an array or a way to calculate it, not calculate it, but a way to like determine it or arbitrate it in a way that is quick and fast, then I
and
think it's
consistent.
fine. But and
Yeah.
consistent, that's the other thing, is consistency. Yeah, for sure.
I
But
think one of the things you said was something that bugged me a lot is a lot of people feel like you have to put a DC on everything and then they gatekeep their own game and shit, where it's like,
well, that's the other thing. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a clue in this room that the players like they need to find, and then you give it a DC 15, and it's like, but when they don't roll,
and
that,
then they make them
you're
roll
just
dice
fucked.
for like 25 minutes as the
Yeah,
players role play around rolling dice and pushing rocks in the dungeon wall.
yeah.
It's
It's just like,
fucking tell them
listen,
what it is.
if I'm gonna toss a room, I'm gonna toss a room. I don't need to roll a perception check to toss a room. I'm gonna shred like a dumbass can toss a room and still find all the things that are in the room. You don't need to make me roll. I don't need to be a goddamn fucking Einstein to see the chest under the bed. Anyway, so that's what this is. That is basically, I don't even remember what I said. Skill rolls are active rolls and saves are kind of inactive rolls. It's things that are done to the PCs that they don't have control of, and I really like that dichotomy, or at least explanation. Skill rolls are active and saves are not. So PCs do not choose to make them. The GM declares, and pretty much like you get advantage or disadvantage based on whether you're doing better or not. I like how unfiddly this is a little bit. I'm going to give some explanations of saves, like detecting an ambush, resisting being pushed off a cliff, dodging an alien's acid spray, or overcoming mind control. Two more things real quick, and then we're done with Stay Frosty, and that's it. So leveling up. When a mission has been completed, squad levels up, roll 1d10 and add it to the PC's hit point total, which could be good or bad. Then you roll 1d20 for each attribute. If the result is less than the score, subtract 1 from that attribute. Privates can roll twice and take the better result for either brawn or dex. Sergeants can roll twice for brawn or will. Officers can roll for brains or dex. Psyops roll twice for will. Only levels 3 and 5. At levels 3 and 5, you get an additional action per round that can be used for an attack, battle of wills, or focus. Love that. So like you just get beefier and beefier, which is the fucking point of the game. And psyops learn a new psi power. I really love the way this is written in this is the most like D20 roll under, D20 roll over system I've ever seen. You know what I mean?
I think so, yeah.
Like it doesn't convert scores to modifiers. It kind of gives you a little bit of that like Is it into the odd? Or, I always get into the odd knave care and everything kind of mixed up a little bit. But somewhat like when you take direct injury, it injures to your stats.
I believe that's into the odd and Cairn. Yeah.
Yeah. Those it kind of has a little bit of attributes of that where like again you don't die, but your stats gets harder and harder and harder until you're so bad at something that you die. And I love this like roll your stats, and if it's less than reduce it by 1 because it keeps making it easier and easier. So well, if this is how I've never read the Black Hack, if this is how the Black Hack works, I freaking love the Black Hack. But
I played it a while back and I've read it several times, and I honestly don't remember how advancement works in the Black Hack. But Black Hack is roll under, I believe. So it may actually be inverse to this. I'll have to. I mean, I have it right there, but I'm not going to pull it out.
Yeah. Oh, so do I. Yeah. It's that one right there. But yeah, so I really enjoy it a lot. I think it's a great system, and if you're going to do D20 roll over, which is one of my least favorite, then I think this is the way I would do it. Last thing really is the psi powers, which is always fun. If you think you're a psychic, maybe you are. Using psi powers, to use a power, make a will roll. Some powers have the options to make a penalty on the roll to empower the effect. If the roll succeeds, the effect happens. If it fails, the powers cannot be used until the PC has had an 8 hours rest. And you can get brain bleed. If a PC psychic fails a roll but really wants the power to work, they can take damage equal to the amount by which the roll failed and have the power succeed. The psychic clutches their head and bleeds from their eyes and nose. I love that. Like, sure, like you want to do it anyway? Sure, just take all of the damage from how much you failed. That is such... I'm writing that down. It's just my pen's in the
I feel
other
like I'm going to
room.
be seeing something like that soon in a playtest, right?
I love it. I love it. Remind me of that because I left my pen in the other room and I'm not getting up to get it. And then there's some psi powers. We'll just pick one or two. Mind Stab, range short, duration instant, an intelligent living target. The psychic can see, takes 2d8 mental damage. Armor has no effect, and you can empower to take -2 on the roll to do 3d8 damage. I really love this empowering idea where you make the roll a little bit harder to make the ability a little bit stronger. I think that's the most clever, at least fiddly way to do something like that. Really, really smart.
I like it better than it is almost like advantage a little bit, and I like that it's just faster.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. So mathematically, and this is rough because I suck at math. Advantage is roughly +5 is where the numbers fall out. That's not perfect. Don't get on me. But if you give someone advantage, you're basically giving them +5 to a d20 roll.
Right.
Which is what, like 25% chance of success? It's 5% for each roll on a d20, so 5 5s is 25, right?
Right.
I know my math is fucking terrible. So you're basically giving them a 25% chance. I think advantage and disadvantage is really quick and not fiddly, but it's also pretty fucking beefy. If you think about +5 potentially mathematically, that's a lot. I love that most of these are -1, -2, and it looks like the only one that's really more than that is telepathy has a -4, which is still not quite at the average of advantage or disadvantage. So I really like that these are you're more likely to succeed on this than if you were given disadvantage on the roll, which is cool. And that's pretty much it. There's a page here, other crap every game has. I love that title. It says, Jesus Christ, I guess we have to spell everything out. We'll see how long I can stand this. So there's falls, which is a minor fall, doesn't damage the PC. They must make a dex save or fall prone. A fall far enough does 1d10 damage per character level. That's it. If a PC falls farther, they're dead. Hunger, going a day without rations, forces the PC to make a brawn save. Failure means they take 1d4, blah, blah. And then drowning, good lord, just have them roll a save or something like rulings, not rules, ! That's it. I can't do this anymore. I love the way this is written. I love that they put this in the thing where it's literally like, God fucking damn it. Like, why are you asking these dumb questions? Just do what you want to do. Here's some basic shit. Go. I love that. Corey did a really fantastic job with this. And then it goes into, there's some missions, there's a character sheet, and that's the bulk. And you know us here on the Weekly Scroll, we do not read adventures. Buy the fucking book. That is Stay Frosty. So that is before we ever even get into the real book. We've read the book that you need to read to get to the real book. So we're going to hop over to Slipgate Chokepoint. So we'll cruise this a little bit. This is about 80 pages, but I think there's only about 35 or 40 pages.
I think it's like 30 pages of actual rulings. Yeah.
Which is cool. And then it's missions and a bunch of stuff, which again, we don't go over adventures. So straight off the bat, again, look at that fucking artwork, dude.
So good. It is just so good. I mean,
well, and they do great work. And the what's the word I'm looking for? Composition of this is really fantastic too. Like the portal slightly off center, people coming through the portal, monster behind this one, she's not even looking. And then this guy here in the front doesn't have a gun. He's got this like badass axe with a skull on it. His one eye is missing and he's like ripping the head off of some demon thing. Yeah. Like such a perfect piece for exact. As soon as you pick up this book, you go, okay, I know what the fuck this is. Like, which is exactly what you want from cover art. Baby. Yeah, just fucking Doom. So this is from Andrew Walter and Paul Cronin. And yeah. So a note on transatlantic backside slang, something that I just thought was funny in the beginning. Basically, clearly this person's not from America because they spell armor the fun way. But there are times where you're gonna get some back and forth with some of the the terms. It's because they're not American and they'll use it the way they fucking want. So there you go. Right off the bat, again, art all the way through, but a couple of things that are very important.
Hyperlinks. Wait, what is that? Hyperlinks?
You better fucking believe there's goddamn hyperlinks.
Oh my god!
Look at that. One of the most important things you can have in a game, at least in my opinion, is hyperlinks. Why did that jump to a non?
Your game could suck, but if it has hyperlinks,
listen, you get a couple of points for that. But here. But let me say one of the things that I think is I think every PDF should fucking have. It's one of the reasons I think Troika is the best PDF ever made for a tabletop role-playing game, unquestionably, and there's not a lot of games that are close to it. This has one of those things that I love more than just about anything, right? So it's got hyperlinks. So let's randomly click hyperlink. We're going to go to power-ups on page 24, right? And then I scroll down to the bottom of the page. And if this fucking unzooms from where I want it to be one more time, I'm going to freak out. But right at the bottom of this page is this word. It says content, right? On every page, there's a word at the very, very bottom of the page that says content. You know what happens when I click the word contents? That shit takes me back to the table of contents page.
Amazing.
Please, designers, more of you, with your RPGs, make that kind of thing into your pages. If you want, it's 2023. Pandemic is still actually happening despite how many people want to ignore it. A lot of people are still playing in VTTs. Make your PDFs more accessible, please. Navigation tools are super important. Let's check. Do they have bookmarks as well? Yep, they got bookmarks. So bookmarks and a PD and a hyperlink table of contents are the bare minimums in my opinion. Another couple of things that this has is inline hyperlinks. So if it says, you'll find this on page 12, you can click the words page 12 and it'll take you to page 12. But this click on the bottom of every page that takes you back to the table of contents is so smart. Troika does it twofold because it takes you back to the table of contents. And then on the opposite page, it takes you back to the beginning of the chapter you're in. Mm-hmm. So cool. Love that. Fantastic. Yeah. Anyway, so table of contents, like we said, 80 plus pages. Ranger generation, traits, starting loadout, armor, ammo, healing, weaponry, power-ups, new action rules, new combat rules, XP, hostiles, monster generation, missions and campaigns, and the flayed domain, which is an adventure in the book. And then another beautiful piece of art here.
I love that. It reminds me of there's a really great folk musician, and I can't even talk about it because I don't remember the fucking name of it. And they made a movie and they're fucking aliens that wear buckets on their heads and they look just like that, and it's fucking great. It just made me happy when I saw it.
I don't know what you're talking about, and now I want to see it. What I really love about this piece is the couple of things. It's the gun is attached to some type of power-up system, which is really cool. But this is clearly a like arcane symbol etched onto, or like a cult symbol etched onto the weapon, which Doom is just so good for all of that. Like the like it's tech, which is usually not my thing, but then you bring like occultism and blood and guts and hell into it, and I'm like, nope, you totally got me. And it's just never gonna not be awesome. And again, like the art that they chose through this really continues to reinforce, like, you know, this is emulating that game. There's a whole page here that I love that I'm not going to read. You should read it. But basically, it's like a narrative, like in a little short story piece of the game. Filler. Dude, yeah. It's so smart to do this in a game, too, because you don't have to explain. Just with the cover art in this page, you don't have to say, this was my intent when writing the fiction for this game. You can just read the narrative. I love... Like, there's a couple of games out there that literally have, like, we're going to put out, like, a book with this, or we're going to put out a short story with this, or, like, a narrative piece. That's such a great way to get people into your lore and into the intent behind your system. Super well done.
Yeah,
And then
it's what is an RPG should be, I think. It's literally like, this is my story that I told when I play tested this, and I turned it into a piece of short fiction, threw it in the beginning of the game so you can get into it. Now go use the rest of these rules and make your own. That's the perfect thing. It really is.
That's super. You hit it right. You just perfect.
Yeah.
Yes, that is what all of your, what is an RPG? Every page you use, just write some short fiction instead.
Yeah.
And then, God fucking damn it, like, just this next piece of art is just so
brutal. Oh
God, I wish it was in color, but how amazing. It is just this creature with all of these arms and tail, and it's taken out like 1, 2, 3, 4 rangers at once, like holding one up in the sky, and in the background there's, you know, more dead rangers, more beasts and creatures. It's just this overwhelmingly, like, beautifully fucked up piece of art that
it's
Andrew.
It's so good. I wish I had the money to just hire Andrew to do every art piece. It's
Same.
good.
Like, there's 3 or 4 artists out there that I'm just like, if I ever put out a game, these are the 3 or 4 artists that I would want to do everything, and Andrew Walter is easily one of them.
Yeah.
So quick intro. Slipgate Chokepoint is a supplement for Stay Frosty. It's intended to be a love letter to the bizarre, eldritch atmosphere and rending violence of the mid-90s FPS video games. Make significant changes to the original Stay Frosty, which you will need. I will say, and we talked about this a little bit before, and let me finish the intro, and then I'll bash on it. So the DNA of 90s FPS computer games is intertwined with tabletop RPGs. The original Doom originated in a D&D game played by the id Software employees, and the legendary Sandy Peterson was a malevolent brain behind most of the dark and claustrophobic levels of Quake's episode, The Elder World. Our hope is to meld the excellence and badassery of the original Stay Frosty rules with an even more terse, fast-paced method of play that prioritizes gun, jibs, and high-risk stunts, as well as providing you with a new panoply, good word, of twisted horrors and unnatural environments. Welcome to the Doom Dimensions. And what they intended, they fucking did. It's fantastic. But what was I going to say? My only knock, I think, on this, and my question really comes down to, were they allowed? And if they were, it bugs me that they didn't. Is this realistically is smaller and wider spaced and whatever. You could put the entire rules of this probably in like 5 pages, and most of this isn't even in this book. I think in less than a page, all of the rules you need for this, maybe 2 or 3 pages, all the rules you need from this to play this could have been just put in it. And I would say my only real knock on the game is that I love kind of that you have to buy this because support the original creator. Right, but yeah. I think you could have easily, it's a pain in the ass to have to reference 2 books is kind of where I'm getting. Like, I really think they could have just...
I agree with you. I think that if they were allowed, I feel like they should have just thrown, they didn't even need to do the 1 page of rules. They could have just, where they say, I don't know if it's on this page or another, where it says like, use this rule page, whatever, of Stay Frosty further in the book. They could have just listed the rule there.
But exactly. I don't think they needed 1 full page of Stay Frosty, but I think it's like maybe 1 page worth of stuff that they could have just
they could have done that. But honestly, like at the same time, it's like Stay Frosty, I think, is free on Drive-Thru RPG, the PDF anyway. If I remember right. I picked it up a while ago. So but like, you know, it's not like a big deal. And also, like, why wouldn't you want to go get another fucking cool game that clearly inspired something you're having fun with? But convenience wise, I do agree that it would be helpful.
I think that's my biggest thing, is not that, you know, because obviously I have both books, but it's like what I just said about like navigation tools being at your table, and this one being so easily navigable. Now you have to have 2 PDFs up to do it. So it's, I mean, but also the rules are so simple that once you read it once or twice, you don't need the other one. So, you know, it's not a big knock. It's just like, it's I'm curious why, you know,
why are you inconveniencing me?
Yeah, I'm gonna spend the money anyway, but just put it in 1 book. God damn it. So what's new? I love this. This is a really clever page, and again, inline hyperlinks, which means that when it says it's on page 8 through 10, you can click on that, it'll take you to page 8 through 10. Super smart. Love the navigation tools. Good job, Andrew and Paul. So what's new? So there are no MOs. I feel like it doesn't say what MOs are, but I feel like it's MOs, not MOS. Am I wrong? Did you read that as like modus operandi, like how
I
you
read
do
it
a
as
thing?
modus operandi, and I believe that
Okay.
that is also what it's called in Stay Frosty. It's MOS as well. But I don't know what the S is supposed to stand for. It may actually stand for something.
It might, maybe it's just plural. I don't know. But if you don't see a Stay Frosty rule mentioned, assume it's exactly the same way, which is one way to do it. And this is a list of new stuff, which is cool. So we just breezed through Stay Frosty, got the basics, and I love that it tells you right off the bat, here are the things that are different. So there are no MOs or rank rules.
It's military occupational specialty. That's what it stands for.
Oh, dope.
Yeah, it's actually
different. Cool. All right. Well, now we know, and we know that there aren't any in this game. So there are no MOS or rank rules. All player characters are rangers, differentiated by traits and levels. That's it. Rangers can take multiple actions per round as long as they've got the guts for it and the dice favor them. I like that. It's interesting. It's different. I do like how in the original one, like as you leveled up, you gained more, because I love games where you feel like you're learning and getting better. But this one is a little bit different as opposed to like learning and getting better. It's more like, as it says, if you've got the guts, you can always try. So I like both. I like both. Speaking of guts, Rangers can out jib their enemies, which I know you love.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fucking
so we'll get to that.
Instant Jib is just the premier, or like one of the biggest things for the late 90s, early 2000s, or maybe even mid 90s and early 90s. But for me, it was the late 90s, early 2000s, like arena shooters and stuff like Quake and Unreal Tournament. It's that satisfaction of just like picking up that one gun that just, is just going to one shot everybody. And you just run around. For me, it was the flat cannon in Unreal Tournament 2003. And I just run around. You sneak up on somebody behind them and you just like point blank with a flat cannon, and they just burst into like chunks of gore all over. And it just feels so good. So having a rule for how that works in a tabletop game is just fucking amazing.
Yeah, and there's no reason not to. Like, I don't like bullet sponge enemies, so being able to just be like, fuck it, no, like, you pass the threshold, they die. I love that shit. Because you don't need to worry about balance as much. If they kill everything, throw more shit at them. Like, come on.
Yeah.
So Rangers can now use stunt die to perform ill-advised craziness. Love that. Ammo rules are slightly different with 4 ammo types. Armor works differently with a push your luck system. Healing can only be performed if medkits are found, which I love. Yes. I love that you just don't nap for 8 hours and then you're fine. I would get rid of it entirely if I could. And then XP is tied to kills per ranger, which another thing is fantastic. So getting into ranger generation, here on the weekly scroll, we love just a list right off the bat of everything you're gonna do, and then explanations of doing it. It's a great way to do it. Slipgate Chokepoint discards all the MOs and rank rules from the original Stay Frosty, as they seem unsuited to the bloody single-mindedness of the genre. I don't disagree to a point. The Rangers then venture into the Doom dimension. They do not differentiate by specialties. Instead, we envisage them as loosely paramilitary in nature, the final remnants of a world on its last legs. So it's not really that I don't necessarily think that it's unsuited for the genre. I just think that this, as it says, this goes more paramilitary, while the original Stay Frosty feels more like direct military. I feel like Stay Frosty in like the fiction of the world is like a couple of months before this, when there's still like military structure, and this one feels like that structure's kind of fallen apart, and basically the dudes that you were with and can have kept together through this are still together, but like the system itself has kind of like fallen apart.
Yeah. Like Stay Frosty, I think it is Starship Troopers, the RPG. So it's kind of, you're a squad of people from a massive fascist military force that is going to various planets to kill giant bug aliens and shit, right? Whereas this is like you are literally the last people alive, and the reason you're still alive is because you're really good at killing shit. So
Yeah.
go kill more shit.
I do
Stay alive
yeah,
more.
without the psi powers, you absolutely could just do fucking Stay Frosty as Starship Troopers 2. That's awesome. I would totally fucking play the shit out of that too.
Yeah.
All right, do you want to roll up a ranger as we do this so we can do this, or
let's do it.
okay, so roll your attributes as per the normal Stay Frosty rules. This is one of the ones that bugs me because all you have to do is say roll 3d6 4 times, like, you know.
But now I have to scroll to the top of the goddamn thing and do the thing. There we go.
Okay, so going back to Stay Frosty, we'll do this for the stream. So you're absolute badass. So you roll 3d6 4 times in order.
Right. So we got 13 on my first one. Got 12 second one.
Okay.
9 for my third one. 5 for my fourth one.
Oh, dope.
Amazing.
And then you can re-roll 1, but you have to keep it. Do you want to re-roll that 5?
Yeah, I'm gonna re-roll 5. So we'll go 3. Okay, 9 and 10. Okay, yeah, that's nice.
Okay, so you got between like 10 and 13, right?
Not too bad.
Okay, so the next thing you're gonna do is choose or roll 1 trait. Another amazing. So I love that at the bottom of every page, they have this almost like same size, like in a box piece. And this is clearly some like demonic bad guy. The dude literally has a chainsaw for an arm. And behind them on the wall is literally what looks like a stitched wall of like human faces and flesh. Like, oh my God, I love it. I also love that the character sheet is the very next thing after the page explaining how you're going to do it. Because I think I love, I mean, every book should have a character sheet, but a lot of them put it as the very last thing. And I like that the character sheet is right after or right at the beginning of character creation, so you can see how you're going to write it up.
Yeah.
So going over the traits real quick, there's 20 traits. So why don't you roll one and we'll talk about that one so we can explain how the traits work. So they're a mixture of lucky genetics, warp exposure, eldritch influences, and old-fashioned training. Rangers roll or choose 1 trait at first level and receive another every level after that. So what did you roll?
I got a 19.
Ooh, damn. So you got thy flesh consumed. You can spend a turn eating a fallen foe for 1d10 plus HD hit points. This takes time and will get you odd looks.
Love it.
That one's so fucking good. The other thing, though, that's really interesting about this that I thought was to me, tweaked my brain like half of a percentage. I never thought of Doom as eldritch. I thought of Doom as demonic, and maybe I'm wrong.
There's definitely a little bit of eldritch in Doom. It's much more demonic magic, maybe, but there's definitely some eldritch in Doom.
Yeah,
A little
so
bit.
this is like the second time it says eldritch. There's one called Eldritch Resilience. There's one that's the taint of Shub Niggeroth, which is an eldritch god and stuff. So I feel like they definitely leaned a little bit more into the eldritch as opposed to the demonic in this, which is fine.
Yeah,
I just always saw it more as demon
stuff, for sure.
Yeah. Some of the other ones that are cool: air control. You may add +2 to skill rolls or saves that involve jumping or falling. And as I said, eldritch resistance. Damage you take from any magical attacks is reduced by 3 points. So these are the kind of things that you get. So you get 1 right off the bat, and every level you get 1. So you started with literally being able to consume flesh of your enemies to heal. Love it. Couldn't be more fucked up right off the bat. Like, your level 1 ranger literally eats the flesh of eldritch enemies. So
I've already had enough.
Yeah. All right. So if we go back to the very next thing you do is roll 1d10 plus 5 your hit points.
Yeah, let's do that. We got 1d10 here. Oh, great. 9 hit points.
Oh, that's not bad at all. All All right. You take a D3 for your stunt die, so you get to roll a D3. Choose your starting loadout, so we'll go to that, and then you get ready to frag, and that's it. That's all you do for the characters. You literally roll your attributes, you roll or pick a trait, you roll your hit points, you choose your you have your stunt die, and you just choose your starting loadout. Quick, easy, super fun. All right, so let's go to starting loadout. So either bases have scant equipment. Earth bases have scant equipment. The clunky and unwieldy apparatus that Rangers carry nonetheless has a brutal effectiveness that humanity depends on. A new Ranger carries either a nail gun or shotgun, each of which comes with D6 ammo die of nails or shells, respectively. So are you going nail gun or shotgun?
I'm definitely going to go shotgun.
Shotty. Okay. So either a hammer or an axe.
Hammer.
Okay. And then a standard issue of green armor. We'll see page 14 in a second. And it's hyperlinked. Good job. Which comes with a suit mounted lamp. So you just get your green armor, and then you get a random piece of miscellaneous equipment from the table. So, and then there is a list of other miscellaneous equipment. There's ammo. Roll 1d4 to determine which ammo type this is. So you get, I don't know if you get to do, I think, does shotgun... I think you just pick a random, I think you roll a d4 for your random energy type, or for your random ammo type.
As my miscellaneous equipment, that it would just be I have explosive shit. I have explosive ammo in my pack for some reason.
Oh, so that's what you rolled? Your miscellaneous equipment was explosive ammo?
No, I'm saying if I rolled ammo on the miscellaneous equipment table, it would be 1d4 to randomize which ammo is in my missile.
Gotcha. But you start with D6 ammo of nails or shells.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. So there's also battering rams, clunky motion scanners, darkness grenades, eldritch carven images. Again, really laid into the eldritch stuff. I would control R or whatever it is, eldritch to demonic in this whole thing, because that's just what makes my brain feel better. Flares, a human skull, an old friend, respected enemy, good luck charm, or the tool with 1,000 uses. Jump boots, mild sedatives, recordable hologram unit, and warp coordinates are different things. And there's a list here of what you can roll for 1d20, all of those things. Supply die if it's necessary, things like that. So armor, spelled the fun way, ammo, and healing. I would love to write OU in all of my games, but I feel like I would feel like a big douche because I'm not British or European.
You know, it's funny. I actually do spell a lot of words the British way, and but I also often accidentally just kind of like fluctuate between them. I had to go back in Guild. One of the first copies of that manuscript, I had to go back and check all the armor because I had OUR in about half of them.
Yeah. What did you stick with?
I don't fucking remember what it is. I should probably look. I think it's just OR because I'm in the US. All of the OURs were on autocorrect. Or spelled wrong. But I do the same thing with a lot of other words. And I don't traveling gray? Words like traveling and canceling. I always put 2 L's in those when I
always want to put 2 L's in it too.
Yeah, we put 1 in the US, but it's 2 in the UK. It just looks right to me when you do it.
Maybe it's just the books we read as a kid. I don't know. How do you spell gray?
That's another one. I do a lot with EY.
I'm an EY guy. I didn't even know AY was a thing.
Change it. I'll often go back and change it to AY for like stuff I'm publishing.
EY all day. Let's do it. I'll keep that one forever. All the rest of it's fine.
Yeah, sum up it is. They are British. Yeah.
Anyway, we digress. Armor. The standard safe Frosty rules for armor still apply, but Rangers have different replacement armor types and rules for degradation as follows. So Ranger armor comes in color types, which I think is really fun. Green, yellow, or red with 1, 2, and 3 armor value respectively. Only green and yellow armor is comprised of tech known on Earth, on the Earth side of the Slipgates. So I love that. Green and yellow is Earth armor. Red is Eldritch armor or demonic armor. As well as the normal Stay Frosty rules for damage reduction. Come on, guys. Just write what the normal damage reduction armor is.
What are they?
What are they? Where is armor in here? I feel like I must have passed it already. Control F, armor. Next.
I would assume it works the same way that your HP works. Unless it's not in
Subtract armor. Subtract a PC or NPC's armor from damage done to them by a successful attack. If the result is 0 or less, no damage is taken. So it's soak.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Oh right. Yeah. Because they kind of clarify that in the jib section of.
But why? But like, why not just write? It's one line. It's not even. It's like 6 words. Like just write it in there, guys. So as well as the normal Stay Frosty rules for damage reduction, armor can also be risked as follows, which I love. Any 1 damage total from a single attack or source, including rocket jump damage, can be absorbed by armor. This costs 1d3 points of the armor to be permanently lost. Should this cost exceed the ranger's current armor value, it is lost anyway, and the damage is not absorbed. So basically, you can choose to permanently reduce your armor if you would like to. So not quite armor, but could be armor break, but armor bend a little bit as well. So it's kind of like Mercork,
it's a pretty big risk to do that too, though.
Yeah, which is super fun. I mean, I wish there was a lot more choice design in RPGs. I think a lot of people do it without necessarily being like super understanding why they're doing it, because it's really cool. But to actively put like risk reward choices, especially into important things that you carry, is super fun. It also keeps players engaged a lot more, which is really interesting. One thing that 5e does not do very well is put a lot of like choices in your stuff outside of like the 50 things you get per character. If multiple armors are found, they never stack. So simply replacing the ranger's previous AV if higher. Unused armor points are lost. So helmets are considered part of armor and no longer count separately. I like both ways. I like that the helmet could be a little bit different. It's kind of like having, in the modern system, it's kind of like having a shield. You could break the helmet or something.
Yeah. I think for as far as Doom goes, though, it's all one. I think it's all
it
one.
Makes more sense. Yeah.
One suit, I think. So that's the only reason why I would assume that they went with that.
There's a section here which I really love. It's a example of play on how armor works, which is and just how the game works in general. Examples of play are so important in systems. I love the narrative at the beginning, but an example of play that breaks down the most nitty-gritty parts of a system is so helpful, because there are times where I've like read the rules again and be like, okay, I think I get it. And then I read like a 2-paragraph example play and go, okay, now I absolutely understand exactly what they're going for. And I absolutely didn't get it before. Yep. It is not exactly what we thought it was. So 4 types of ammo, which is cool. Unlike in Stay Frosty, there are 4 types of universal ammo. Each ranger should track their current ammo die level for each character separately. The 4 types and the respective maximum ammo die level each ranger may carry are: shells are D10, nails are D8, explosives are D4, and cells are D6. So each weapon uses one of the 4 types, and these are interchangeable between weapons that use the same type. E.g., explosives are used by both rocket launcher and grenade launcher, with the ammo die for explosive being rolled in a fight in which either or both of these weapons are used. Each time a unit of ammo is found, it results in a bump up to the next die in the chain for that ammo type. Each unit of ammo can only be used by one character to bump up 1 ammo die level. The ranger must divide any units of ammo they find accordingly. The ammo types are shown above, of increasing scarcity. The steps an ammo die can have are D4, D6, D8, D10, but otherwise function as described. And some weapons are known to have a property ammo chewer with a high rate of fire. So good. If an ammo chewer weapon is used in a fight, the ammo die type automatically degrades by 1 step afterwards. Don't even roll the die. So yeah, good. I love that, especially because the weapons that have ammo chewer as a property are ridiculous, and I think that it's such a great way to counteract the risk of keeping your ammo. Basically, it's super cool. It's just a great This is great. This is one of, like, I love this whole game. This is one of the best pages in the entire game. Like, it's just so clever. And I know it's just usage die, but every time I read usage die, I'm like, I love them. It's so fucking good.
Yeah.
Like,
there's
for
so many
things
cool
that
ways you can take such a simple concept and just and this is one of the coolest ones that I've seen. It's just, I love it. It's great.
Yeah. And it's really interesting because I sat down at one point, and despite how bad I am at math, I like figuring out the math. I also wish that, I know this is a little part, I wish this D10 was below the word shells, because it's below it on all the rest of them.
I wish that the D6 in cells was in between nails and explosives. That was what I was thinking about.
Oh, because it literally says it's listed by scarcity, but it's not?
Well, 10, 8, 6, 4 is how I would have written it instead of 10, 8, 4, 6. That it's bothering me.
Yeah. So love the page, a little bit of a layout knock there, but it's fantastic. But I also love the little icons. I think it feels very, for the genre. But at one point I sat down and was like, okay, what's the like, if you're going from D12 to nothing, what's the average rolls? And I figured out, the average of getting a 1 and like all the rest of the stuff. And it ends up being like between 25 and 30, basically. Ammo you get per thing or whatever, unless, again, it's probably completely wrong, and if I'm wrong, give me the right math out there, but it felt right for the amount that a D12 gave, which is fun. Another example of play here, for ammo specifically, great, not gonna read it, it's great though. And then healing and medkits, another one of my, I really, really love this one. So in the Doom Dimensions, wounds in human flesh do not heal with rest or medical attention. Love it. Yes. Why? So good. Healing in Slipgate Chokepoint is achieved by the use of medkits. These odd metal devices are crate-shaped, studded with glowing lights and seeping vents, and are found scattered in caches and storerooms about the Doom Dimensions. Proper use causes an ectoplasmic or eldritch nanite cloud that will seal wounds and knit broken bones instantly. Certain reports indicate medkits from the deeper dimensions have unsavory provenance, with rumors of human soul rendering or flesh tech involved in the creation. The word flesh tech,
I love it. It's
perfect. And I love this so much better. First of all, in a combat system where healing is not... I don't like the idea of like, okay, let's stop our exploration into the demon hell dimension for 8 hours so I can take a quick nap. It's no, fuck that. Like, you're gonna die. You're not gonna wake up. So
yeah, I love that it's instant, because that's video gamey. And the scale of 5, 10, 15, and 20, which is great. I'm just as I look at that number, I was just thinking about playing Unreal Tournament and being like so low on health, and then seeing a little trail of health files that were like the smallest health you could get in the game, and being so excited because I know that that's at least 30 HP, and I just like sprint towards it, and like I can see that being like, that's gamified right there for me. Like, that works for me.
But it also makes sense in the fiction of the world, which I really, really enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the way that they made it lore. I like that. Yeah. Very cool.
And not only that, like, you also turn, like, I feel like this is not a game where treasure is going to be an inspiration for you. You're like, why am I doing this? Because you're trying to survive. Like, who gives a fuck about gold? You can have as much gold as you want. You're gonna die. But I'm like, turning medkits,
that's why I'm here.
Yeah. But turning healing into treasure feels cool. You know what I mean? Like, it's a smart way to do the design. So what Kirby said is medkits are found in 5, 10, 15, or 20 hit point values. Each medkit can be used by a ranger to restore the respective amount. Any hit points over the ranger's max are lost. The hit points in each medkit cannot be split. So you get what you get, and if you go over, so like if you find multiple kits, like, you kind of have to balance who's going to get the best and who's going to waste the least, which I really, really enjoy. Although medkits can be carried, they are bulky and fragile with a single hit, rendering the delicate tech sorcery inside, or essence side, useless. So basically, you can carry it, but if you get one hit, it's gone and you just wasted it all.
Yeah.
And medkits can only be used to restore hit points. Direct damage to stats can only be restored while recuperating on the other side of Slipgates. So you literally, like you have to leave the dark dimension or whatever to actually heal, which again is exactly how it should be. Like you shouldn't be able to just take a nap. Another full page piece of art here. I just love it. I love when you can, you know, take a page to do it. It's just like a pile of a person, but you know, there's got skull here. Yeah. Stuff.
The upcoming artwork.
The artwork through the whole thing is just crazy. So this is a whole section on weaponry, so we don't have to go over all of them. We'll probably name them, but we'll pick. So you picked. Your weapons are hammer, right?
Hammer and shotgun, yeah.
So we'll go over those and then talk about the rest. But this is, so for axe and hammer, even though axe is pictured here, it's 1d8 and it's hand-to-hand. That's a range. So the choice of bludgeoning or slicing is purely a matter of any given ranger's personal fighting style. The axe and hammer are the standard melee weapons due to both the utility outside of combat and the ability to inflict grievous wounds. So yeah, because they're you know, axes and hammers aren't just murder weapons. A cestus is like a gauntlet with like spikes on it, and it's fucking beautiful. The shotgun, okay, so 3d6 close, 2d6 short, 1d6 medium. I like that it's not like a disadvantage to the roll. It's just reduction in it's like fall off, you know?
Yeah.
It's like bullet fall off, which is great. Use the shells, pump action shotgun with no frills, but immediate bloody results. After the first few disastrous excursions into the doomed dimensions, it was agreed that rangers needed to make sure that the gibbering horrors found beyond the realms of sanity would rest in pieces. The first cocky bastard with a mere pistol, for example, failed to notice that a Rottweiler, that's funny, was merely playing dead. But it's Rot-Dashweiler because, you know, it's I love it. So there's also super shotguns, which are double-barreled. There's nail guns, which is something you could have chosen at the beginning. It's a light, rapid, and powerful double-barrel launcher of large darts. Really fantastic. The super nail gun, and the art on the super nail gun. My God.
I love that so much.
It's like, it's got like a demonic face with the mouth open, and it's got like 5-6 barrels sticking out the mouth. And it says, bigger bastards need more nails. Like,
yeah,
it's a prized weapon among rangers for its superior rate of fire, crowd control, greater armor piercing. Like, it's so, and it's ammo chewer, as you said.
Yeah.
So it doesn't.
The super shotgun has too, and I like that because I actually like the distinction. If you look at the difference between the shotgun and the super shotgun, the close range is significantly higher, but short and medium range are quite a bit lower than the normal shotgun, which is really great, in my opinion. A great way to really continue to push that the play style of Doom, in that you're not standing back and shooting from a distance. If you have a gun like the super shotgun, you're going to be literally putting the barrel to the demon's head and pulling the trigger and then turning around and doing it again. You're not, and you're just rushing. Like, that's, I think that just the way that they delineated those two types of weapons and how the ammo works helps make that even more believable.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's a great way, as far as a game design perspective, to encourage the style of play that you are aiming for without having to sit and fucking explain it. Because as you just said, like, you clearly say, like, you don't have to say a goddamn word, but you know, more close, worse farther away, I'm supposed to get fucking close to this weapon. Like, it's and then ammo chewer too, so like it does a lot more up close, but usage die instant with those fucking the rounds that are coming off. Yeah, so clever, so smart. Like, they did not only, I mean, Andrew and Paul, but is Andrew a fantastic artist, but clearly like knows their way around game design too.
Yeah.
Rocket launcher, Thunderbolt, which this is one of those cells weapons. It is a terrible construct that releases a streak of lightning, which is fantastic. Another piece of art down here at the bottom, a shambler wielding its horrendous bolt power. So it's one of the guys from the cover. I think it's the guy in the back left cover here, right? And then it's got this lightning bolt power. God, So good. Okay, so power-ups, which could you get more video gamey than a power-up? Right? Artifacts of dark science or darker magic. Official R&D policy is to treat them with extreme caution. But what do those pencil necks know? Again, the narrator coming through in the rules writing, which is super fun. So you get a power-up die. If a ranger obtains a power-up, the duration of its effect is determined by a power-up die, usually a D4. This is similar to supply ammo die with the following differences. It is rolled at the end of every combat round, regardless of if the effect of the power-up is used. If a 1 is rolled, the power-up wears off at the end of the next round. If the highest number of the die is rolled, the power-up remains active. Excuse me, and the power-up die is upgraded to the next die tier to a maximum of D8. Power-ups always end at the close of any given combat. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you start at the lowest and you can ramp it up, but if you ever hit like, it can also dissipate almost immediately and then it's done afterwards. Yeah. It's such a great way to make each individual encounter like so much more dynamic.
It's like bloodlust. Like, you know, if you keep going, you just keep getting more and more. But if you have like a break between 2 kills for some reason, it's just gone. Right. I think, yeah. My God, I can't fucking, it's just so good.
We got to play this game. Let's play. Let's set up a game and play. I wanted to play for a while. So, these are different power-ups. Is there any that really stuck out to you?
The Pentagram of Protection was the one that I think I noticed immediately because I thought I was immediately drawn to, because when I played Doom, the most recent Doom, I was really thinking about the magic aspect of that game and how they really leaned into that a lot. And I like that they just talked about the sorcerers that drew upon hell magic. Like, I just think that's cool. But Mega Health is the one that's going to stick out to me because of my childhood. I mean, I was already thinking about the big keg of health from Unreal Tournament, and which was an actual item. It was literally a giant barrel, and it gave you extra health over the maximum that otherwise you couldn't get. You could never get higher than 100 unless you had the big keg of health, which gave you 199. And yeah, Mega Health is great. That's the one I like.
Yeah, there's so many good ones. Like you said, like the Pentagram of Protection, the Ring of Shadows, powerful rings of invisibility, forged and infused with black magic. Yeah, Mega Health. There's D6. There's one D6 one too. The Biosuit, a prototype suit resembling a hybrid of a hazmat suit and diving gear, scavenged for use by former humans. Luckily, they're also just your size. It lets you breathe underwater and traverse corrosive slime, but does not protect against lava. I love that it even underlines that, where it's like, so clearly lava sucks.
Yeah. Don't touch that shit.
Yeah. They're so good. What's the other? Quad damage is great. Yeah. So yeah, the power-ups are really fun, interesting things. And then there's new action rules. So each ranger is allowed to take as many actions as they like.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Just the freedom of just, man.
Just going off. But however, as soon as they fail a skill check or miss an attack, they are done for the round and must wait until the next to act again. But how do you balance that so one person doesn't destroy fucking everything? The next rule is so good. So for each action or attack that a ranger takes after the first, they must roll another d20 when making their skill check or attack and choose the worst result. So in effect, this is like stacked disadvantage. Any and all natural ones are counted and applied immediately. So basically, you don't. So this is how I read this. So I roll a d20 to hit a shambler, right? I get a 19, I fucking hit. So then I want to attack again. I have to roll a d20 again. But it says choose the worst result.
No, so the next turn, you're going to roll 2d20, and you're going to choose the worst result. And then if you still hit,
the next one is 3d20, then 4d20, then 5d20. Got it. Yeah. So basically, it's so you can roll as many dice as you want, but the first time you fail, you're out.
Yeah, and the more turns you take, the higher chance you have of ending up with a natural one, and rolling on the fucking ape shit, going ape shit, or oh fuck natural one tables, say Frosty, which are fucking really cool, by the way.
Yeah. Oh fuck. And first of all, calling it the oh fuck natural one
I know, I
table
love
is
that.
fucking amazing. Yeah. So as usual, if they think a task is particularly tough, the GM may make a ranger add an extra D20 of disadvantage just to add to the pool. So it's dice pools of D20s.
Yeah.
Like, love it.
It's just like, all right, I'm on my sixth one, and I'm gonna try and jump across this thing and shoot that guy over there. And the GM's like, well, you have to jump, so throw another D20 on there. You roll eight D20 this time.
Yeah. Well, and it's 5% chance of rolling. That's always been my knock on D20s. Just a tangent for a second. It's a 5% chance for every number on the die. So but
flat.
one thing I love about D6s, like 2D6 specifically, my favorite roll dice is bell curve. So like you're more than likely to succeed at the thing that you're good at and stuff. But once you start hitting 8D5, even like you're at 30, 40 like +% chance of rolling that one, but you could get it at any time. So it's a really great way to allow people to, God, can you imagine just being like, fuck it, I push, I all in again.
I'm
and
just,
you get to a point where
I'm
you're
just gonna
rolling
go
like
until
10,
I fuck up,
Yeah. You're rolling like 10, 11, 12 D20s and just being like, oh my God. Like if I was playing this game regularly with a group, I would literally have a chart of like who and when rolled the most fucking action rolls in a row, and be like, Kirby, remember that day that Kirby got like 9 fucking actions? Like, well, that's crazy.
The crazy thing is, and we'll talk about jibs in a minute, but the crazy thing is when you consider how you can do this and then jibs on top of that, and then even throwing in some power up stuff in those turns as well, like you can really just go absolutely bananas literally on one turn and just like massacre a room. Like it's so fucking cool.
Which is cool as fuck. And if I was a player watching that, I would just be cheering the whole fucking time. You know what I mean? Like,
I'd be so excited. Yeah.
No. So the oh fuck natural one, shit, fuck, shit, and going ape shit tables from Stay Frosty refer to disadvantage on certain actions. This works the same way in Slipgate. Simply add 1 extra D20 to whatever you have to roll and take the worst result. Hostiles still use the existing Stay Frosty rules for actions and attacks each turn. Just write it in the book. Another fantastic example of play. So for like everything that it does, for like equipment, for ammo, for actions, for everything, there's an example of play. Really smart, really clever. Yeah, super encourage people to put that in. It's so important. And then another picture of the Cestus, I think it's called here, with the variant tension table, which I really love. So the table can be used in place of the tension table on page 21 of Stay Frosty. So tension ramps up, and I think we're going to talk about tension in just a second. But basically it's 1 through 6, and at tension level 1, you're calm, and there's no benefit. So actually getting more tension is better to a point. So at 2, you're irritated and you get +1 to damage rolls. At 3, you're angered and you have advantage on saves. At 4, you're enraged and have advantage on initiative. At 5, you go berserk and ranged attacks gain agile. And at 6, it's called against the dying of the light. Your rage level, extra damage die for base damage. So e.g. +1d8 for a rocket launcher. So if you go against the dying light, you become the doom guy. New combat rules we talked about earlier. The stunt die, which is fun. So you start with the D3, right?
Yes.
So Slipgate Chokepoint abuses a mechanic to encourage rangers to perform the sort of high-flying, high-explosive, and highly unlikely feats performed by protagonists of the 90s FPS games. This is known as the stunt die, which for level 1 characters is a D3. I fucking love this so fucking much. Using the stunt die, if a ranger wishes to perform a stunt as part of an attack, they must outline their attempt to the GM. They then roll their current stunt die along with their attack roll. If the die is a 3 or higher and the attack is a hit, then the stunt is considered successful with bonuses determined at the GM's discretion. So at low level, you have like a 33% chance of hitting your stunt.
Yeah.
Right? Because you have to hit a 3 and get the attack. But as your stunt die increases, you could fucking stunt out like crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Like, another way that I think that this really works well in emulating is kind of how you power up in games like Metroidvania games, where as you get better over time or you progress through a game, you have items. And this is kind of like a, not necessarily items, but like the better your stunt die is, the more cool stuff you can do on your turn. Which I think is just a really cool way to just keep like rolling in that in the genre that it's emulating. It's very clever.
Yeah, it's another way to string together stuff, but I love the idea that it really is designed to keep the game from going purely mechanic, where it's just like, okay, I roll again, okay, I roll again. Because it specifically says, if you want to do a stunt, what are you going to do? Talk to the GM about, like, outline the badass shit you're going to do. And it keeps people from just being like, okay, I throw a fireball. Because one of the questions, like, when I, especially in like 5e with early players, one way I got players to RP a little bit more was they go, okay, well, I throw a fireball. And I say, what does it look like? What do you mean? Well, what color is your fire? Yeah. How do you throw it? Are you overhand? Are you underhanded? Like, describe to me. And people, for some people, like, it almost breaks their brain for a second. They're like, oh, I didn't think about that. I just saw a fireball. No, tell me what it looks like.
No, I ejaculate a fireball.
Yeah. Like, and then, white flame streaks forth.
It's white flame.
Yeah. And as you get more powerful, one thing I love to do was to say, like, every couple of levels, it increases, right? So if your level 1 chill touch is just a skeletal hand, your level 10 chill touch might be like a skeletal hand with like skulls ringing as it goes forward and shit. So this is the kind of thing, where you can really use the mechanics to pull RP into it, which again is what can really help to keep that delineation between board game and tabletop role-playing game, because there are mechanics that encourage RP, which is super important.
That's always been one of my favorite parts of being a player, is being able to have the freedom, as long as I have a game master that is obviously a good game master, being able to have the freedom to describe what I want my character's shit to look like and to do. And it's just, it's so much fun to be able to come up with that stuff. So, yeah.
So only one stunt can be executed per chain of wait. Yeah, only one stunt per chain of jibbing opponent. See jibs and being jibbed below. So we're getting to jibs. I know we were talking about it the whole time. We're getting there. Stunt die is only for use with actions comprising an attack. If a purely acrobatic or intellectual feat is required without aggression, they should be rolled as usual skill. If the stunt die fails but the attack hits, roll damage is normal. So it's not for doing smart shit, guys. It's for murder. Like, that's what the stunt die is for. That's it. So some examples, dude. The first one is where I was like, okay, yeah. Some examples, dude. Bouncing a grenade off of a wall around a corner to hit an opponent that is out of sight. Fuck yeah. Jumping from a high platform into a pool of water and shooting an opponent on the way down. Throwing an explosive ammo pack into the air above a group of opponents and shooting it with a nail gun to detonate it. And then rocket jumps, blowing yourself up in order to fly. Like, the first and last one to me are like, that's exactly the kind of shit. Like, I'm sorry, I'm actually going to jump and turn my rocket launcher around and blast behind me so I can like double jump over some shit. Fuck yeah, that's what I'm doing.
That was I think that was actually in the narrative in the very beginning of the book. The guy does that rocket jump. The only thing I wish that, and maybe I missed it. I'm trying to reread this section real quick to see if I missed it, but I wish that they had, if you rolled a 1 on the stunt die and you miss your attack, it somehow fucks you up.
Bonus consequences?
Like, like if you bounce a grenade off a wall, but you fuck up your roll and you miss the attack, then the grenade bounces right back to you and it blows up in your face, which I think is just a GM can just adjudicate that themselves. But I love that. I think fun to have that.
That again, as we talked about earlier, it's adding those risk reward choices into the shit that you're doing. I would 100% throw that into the game. Just be like, if you miss and roll a 1, like you, what was the thing earlier where it's like, wasn't there a rule earlier where it said like if you miss? No. It was the psi power rule where it's like if you miss, you take the damage of how much you missed by. Basically. That would be really fun. Or the damage of whatever your attack was supposed to be, whichever one's higher or lower, or whatever. That would be a fun way to adjudicate that a little bit. 100% variant rule made up right here on the stream. When we play this, we're doing it. All right. So jibbed and being jibbed. This is your bag here. This is being jibbed means taking so much damage in one hit that your body is reduced to an explosive rain of bloody organs. Your final words ending up as no more than a messy gurgling noise. It is imperative that the GM describes this in gruesome detail.
I love that last line. It's just so good. Just
listen,
please,
I know you can't.
Please describe.
I know you can't hear me clapping on stream, but I am clapping right now, just so you know. God, and the art.
I know. I love this one. It's just. His head's still attached though, which does make me a bit sad. But otherwise, it's just fantastic.
Well, I mean, but we got an arm gone, we got a leg gone, we got his guts about 4 feet out of his body, front and back. Yeah. Yep. It's so good. So, any combatant is jibbed if they die by having their hit points reduced to their jib value. E.g. grunts have a jib value of -8. If a ranger jibs an opponent, they may immediately make a free attack with advantage. Yes. If this leads to jibbing their next target, they may make another attack with advantage, and so on. They may continue this a number of times equal to their level. So, important note, when the jibbing rules are combined with the multiple action rules, the chained jib attack should just be rolled with 1d20 with advantage. Essentially, they don't count as extra actions. The jibbing chain takes place outside the normal sequence of actions and is a blood-fueled fugue of arse kicking.
It's so good.
So you could theoretically have like a 4... Like, you could keep pushing your actions. You could be on your 4th d20, and then you jib somebody. Right? So that in and of itself, you basically are now outside of your chain of actions, and you can jib until you no longer jib, right? And then continue back into your chain of actions.
Yep. And then if you jib again, you go jibbing. Like, you just be jibbing.
You do be jibbing. Can you chain multiple jibs? Was there a thing earlier? I thought there was something earlier about chaining jibs.
You can't chain. I think you can't chain stunts into jib. What was it? Let's see here. It was only one stunt can be executed per chain of jibbing. I don't think that there was anything about not re-jibbing chains.
Gotcha. So
I love
saying it's basically so you can't try to stunt every jib, right?
You can stunt every chain of jibs. So we could theoretically be on 4d20 on my 4th action per turn, or in this turn. I jib. I get into a jib chain, like 3 kills. I roll a stunt. I miss the last one. I go back to my regular 4d20, get into 5d20, and then I jib again. I go into a second jib chain. I kill 3 more dudes and roll a stunt during that as well. And then I end up ending my turn at some point.
Now, here, though, is my question. So, like, if you go from, or how would you feel, like, if you're in a chain of forward-moving actions, right, and you... When does the chain end again? When you haven't killed someone, or just whenever you fucking want it to, or when you roll a 1 or whatever?
It's when you miss. Yeah. So like as your dice pool of d20s is increasing, your chance of missing is significantly increasing.
Right. But if you go from a chain of hits into a chain of jibs and you miss, you're done, right? It's not like you miss and then you go back to regular actions. It's just your jib chain ends if you hit but don't jib somebody. You can go back into a regular chain of actions, right? But if you miss, everything you've done ends. Okay, all right. Okay.
Yeah, the jib chain
is an end of everything.
Yeah, the jib chain only continues if you are instant jibbing. Instant jibbing.
Gotcha. Okay, right. So you can be in the midst of like actions and jibs and a stunt. And then if you miss once, it all disappears. I love that. It's like the build up and then two. Yeah. Oh, God. So good.
It's great. It's good shit.
A ranger is jibbed if they die in an attack that causes one of their attributes to reach 32. If a player character ranger is jibbed, it is extremely traumatic for the party. Increase tension by 1d4, and then tension explodes immediately as per normal Stay Frosty rules. I think we bounced past on that the tension. We'll have to go back to Stay Frosty. But okay, so your attribute has to reach 32 in one hit.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, the worst you could possibly do is like if you're at 1 HP, you would have to take 33 damage to get jibbed.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Well,
I
I'm looking
almost wonder why they went 32 specifically and didn't just say double your stat.
Well, the 2021 is the cap for Stay Frosty. And I'm wondering if they added some because of their powerful enemies rules, which is the next section. Um, let me see here.
As we're looking at that, there's another piece of art here that's like most of this page, and it's this grunts shambling through halls of rotting eldritch tech, which it's such a good piece. There's like skull stuff on the wall. There's a dude in the back with like a weird mat. I mean, just the art throughout this entire thing, and candles, because, you know, why not? So you were talking about the powerful opponent rule.
Yeah, I wanted to go pop open Say Frosty again and take a look at that real quick and see.
All right. So I'm going to read that while you're going through Stay Frosty. The powerful opponent rule from page 10 of Stay Frosty now only applies to hand-to-hand combat. Successful ranged attacks are always simply a roll under the target's dex for hostiles and a roll equal to or over the ranger's dex for player characters. So page 10.
Yeah, it's actually not related to that. It just has to do with difficulty, basically.
Wait, so the PCs and hostiles subtract 1 from their attack rolls for every hit dice the hostile has over the PC's level. That's really fucking important, it says, with the F and everything. So if
that would be
enemy,
the boss, basically.
Yeah. So if the enemy is like level 10, right, HD 10, and you're level 5, every roll you do against the enemy is -5.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love it. But again, I'm curious why they specifically picked 32 for jibbing, because I know if you hit 21, yeah, you die. But like that means you really only need to hit like 22 to. I'm curious. I wonder if it's because that's the. Would that be the most you can do if you had the most HP you could have? Like, I'm trying to think in my head what specifically would make mathematically the 32 pop into it, because
I'm not sure. I was just looking through the book again to see if I could figure out why. I think they may have just bumped it up to a higher number because you can still die and not be jibbed.
Right.
So in Stay Frosty, you die at 21.
Right.
In this, I don't know. Maybe you die at 21 in this, is I'm assuming, since it's the same rules, but you jib at 32, which traumatizes the party and causes the tension table to explode, etc. So,
but what I was curious about was like why a flat number instead of like a derived number? Like if you were,
I don't know.
say your stats like 13, why wouldn't you jib at 26?
Yeah,
but I guess that means if your stats like, I mean, I guess it makes sense because, right, if your stats only 8, you would jib at 16, but that's not even 21, which is where your death is. So I guess it makes sense that you need to have a pretty high number. But the lower the stat, the harder it is to get jibbed, realistically. Because if your stat's only 5 and you have to get to 32, they have to do like 30, 7 damage to get you from a low number all the way up to 32. It's almost easier the higher your stat. No, because low is good. Low is good because this roll over. Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. You re-rolled your 5.
Yes, I did.
You wanted to keep your 5.
I have a 10 on that instead of a 5.
But wait a minute. But you would have wanted to keep your 5, right? Because lower is better?
No. No, you're rolling above. Your skill rolls are above. It's going to be 10 plus.
Right. So you have to roll over a 10, right?
Yeah. So
if you roll a 5, you roll over a 5.
So if I had a 5, I would roll over a 5. But that would be if I'm trying to do whatever that skill check is.
Right.
If for the combat, it is the, let's see, I was just looking at it a second ago. For combat in Stay Frosty, so they roll under my dexterity, or brawn for hand to hand. So interesting.
Yeah, so lower stats were better. You would actually want to reroll your 13, not your 5, right?
Yeah, I think you're right.
You
And
would
I
have,
fucked
so
that
your
up.
5 would have been fucking like the greatest roll ever.
I fucked that up. Yeah.
Yeah,
Shit.
well, I mean, obviously we just switch back to the 5, but yeah, that's what's up.
No, we're keeping my fuck up.
Oh, okay. For the player that we're not playing, but we're just reading. Yep,
Yes. Yep.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, 10's not bad either. So anyway, so that's a powerful opponent rule. Basically, it just says that it only applies to melee. Telefragging, when a ranger steps into a teleporter with their physical their physical being is immediately broken down and spat out or formed elsewhere. Some brave souls try to become lucid and move their liminal form through sheer willpower. If a ranger can get themselves inside a hostile right before reforming, it's a bloody spectacle.
Yes.
Rangers can go full gung-ho and telefrag a single chosen enemy upon teleporting. This requires a willpower save and starts with 2 disadvantage. Damn. I.e. roll 3 dice and use the lowest. Improved or worsened by the condition of the teleporter. The relative distance of the telefragger and the target, and so on. If they succeed, the enemy bursts into gore and they emerge unscathed. If they fail, they will materialize inside a solid object such as a wall and suffer instant death. It's one hell of a gamble, but gutsy actions can sometimes lead to absolute glory. GMs are encouraged to carefully consider the placement of teleporters. Dude, I would almost say that they actually just merge with the beast thing and either instantly die or become some like powerful enemy.
Yeah, I mean, telefragging is classic though. I mean, I was just looking at the translocator from Unreal Tournament because that used to be one of my favorite ways to kill people. The translocator in Unreal Tournament was an actual gun that you could use to teleport yourself. So you would shoot like a disc somewhere and then you right click and teleport to it. And if you were out of ammo, that was like the primary way to kill people was to shoot your disc at somebody and then teleport right when it hits them. So you telefrag them. Like it was so much fun to be able to do that. And just timing your shots properly. Yeah, that is so much fun. And now obviously they don't have the translocator gun in Slipgate,
well,
but
not
I
yet.
love the way that they kind of brought that in. Yeah, not yet, but they're going to.
But here's the other thing is I'm not, so I know Doom, I know Quake. I never played classic Doom. I played some of the later ones. I'm going to be straight up with you because you've said it a bunch of times. I have never even heard of Unreal Tournament.
Oh my God. Unreal Tournament was everybody always played Quake. A lot of people played Quake. But Unreal Tournament was the one that I grew up playing. And I played Quake a little bit when I was really young, but it was really just Unreal Tournament, like LAN parties and stuff. And it's very, I mean, it's basically the same game. It's just a bit more sci-fi, like
Gotcha.
dystopian capitalist versus Quake and Doom style, like end of the world kind of thing. But basically the same exact game.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay, so XP, we're actually almost done. We're on page 32 here. So experience points. After returning to Earth via Slipgate, a ranger earns XP for the following achievements. Half a point of XP per hostile killed by the enemy. So it says the GM should record each party kill as a tally, but so that's total. Okay, so the GM can record that. Plus 1 XP per hit dice of each hostile personally killed by the ranger, and ranger should record that. So if your guy's 5 HD, you get 5 XP for each one. Variable XP per scenario, objective achieved by the party. See the Flay domain. Leveling up can only occur on Earth, never in the middle of an excursion. Stats increase in the same manner as described on page 13, which basically, as we said, you roll D20. If it's under your current stat, you reduce it by 1. The additional actions gained at levels 3 and 5 no longer apply because those were basically get more actions, but you can do that anytime you want now. Yeah. When leveling up, new maximum HP are calculated by rolling the HD indicated on the chart. If this new value is higher than the ranger's current max, it replaces it. Otherwise, they retain their current one. And this new experience system is specifically designed to focus Stay Frosty gameplay even further towards fighting, bravado, and glory seeking. If you don't like it, feel free to keep the original. I mean, that's like getting rewarded for individually killing off enemies. I think is such a great way to keep it genre. I do like this table here. 1 through 10, Wet Nose, Gate Hopper, Ranger, Veteran, Raider, Brute Champion, Abysmal Champion, Painmeister, and Warplord.
Love it.
Roll the old 7d10 with 5 traits, a d6 stunt die, and it takes 2,500 XP. Damn. So,
Yeah.
the ranger must personally administer the killing blow to the final boss of a mission to achieve each of the levels of Abysmal Champion and Painmeister. XP is still added to the ranger's tally, but the level cannot be attained without the big kill. I love that.
Yes,
You can end
I
up with
love that
like
rule.
3,000 XP, but if you don't get like the final boss kill,
Yeah.
and then as above, but the ranger must personally administer the killing blow to a manifestation of a great old one to become a warplord.
I love that.
So I think I saw somewhere on Twitter, and I can't remember what it was, but there was something about like secret, and maybe it's in a game we read, but it was basically secret achievements. Is that a Mothership thing? Maybe it's not. Maybe it was a Mothership hack. But basically, maybe it was Christian Sorrell in Bloodfield Station. But basically, like, there's a list of secret achievements you can get where the players don't know about it, but you basically, and I feel like it'd be hard to keep track of it because it's not a fucking video game, so it won't tell you automatically. But you get like secret achievements once you've done a certain thing enough times where you just are like, hey, by the way, you just earned this thing because you did like 3 fucking jibs in a row or some shit. But yeah. The next section is, so for those that are not listening, Kirby just ran and got his Bloodfield Station so that we could check. Maybe it was a Merc. I thought it was maybe that, but maybe it was a Merkborg one or something. I'm not
It
sure.
sounds like something that would be in a Christian Sorrell book, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. Or Mothership. If you're listening and you remember what it is, you just drop us a comment on the YouTube channel and we can remember what it was. So hostiles here. A note on morale. A great many of the horrors on the other side of the Slipgates have no fear of humanity. If a hostile listed here as an X as its morale value, it will always fight to the death. Another great piece of art here. So Champion of Chthon, Enforcer, and there's great art with all of these, but pretty straightforward baddie, just so we can look at it, is an Enforcer. So hit dice 2, which gives you 15. Armor 2. I wonder what the hit dice is if it's 15. I assume it's got to be D8s to get to 15, and that's almost maxed out at 15 for that.
D8 is like the standard
classic
OSR HD. So
armor 2, morale 17, jib is -8, laser rifle 2d10, AP1 long. So hard as nails, muscle of the elder gods and foreman of the cold steel tunnels of corrupted tech bases. They oversee the strategic operations of Slipgate invasions, a task considered beneath the noble duties of the knights, vors, and other such beings. So basically, for a stat for the monster is hit dice, armor, morale, their jib score, and the weapon that they have. That's it. And then each one also has like a solid chunk of lore, which I really like because it can really encourage the way that you play the bad guys. Each one is, gosh, like almost a quarter of a page for the amount of lore. The Fiend art is absolutely amazing. It's almost like it's got like bull legs, but like almost hook horror hands with these giant bloody horns, this giant open mouth. Like
it's grotesque, dude.
It's
rotten ghoul nose, like
so good. And I love that there's a piece of art for every bad guy. Listen, I know art is expensive, but if you're the artist, you can draw as much as you fucking want. Andrew just said, fuck it, we're doing all the art. But having a piece of art for all of the bad guys is really important. It's
Rottweiler one. Look at that Rottweiler one, dude. It is just
the Knight one too is so good with like the pointy blade. But yeah, let's scroll down to the Rottweiler. The Living Dead are cool. The zombies are dope. Ogre. Oh, I love that's a chainsaw one earlier. So Rottweiler. Oh yeah, it's like its tongue turns into tentacles at the end. So good. Pretty low bad guy. HD 1. Armor 0, morale 15 with 4+ allies, otherwise 8. I like that. So like the more bad guys are around, the more morale it has, which is cool. Jib -7, ungodly snapping teeth, 1d10 hand to hand, and then a pinning leap, which is cool. If a pinning leap is successful, the ranger must make a dex save or be pinned to the ground. Each round, the ranger must make a brawn save to escape, or the Rottweiler will make an attack with advantage. Love that. I love when animals have like that kind of like pinning or dragging down like combat. It's great.
They're weak, but if they get lucky, you're fucked. You know?
Oh yeah, especially if there's like 5 of them. Jeez. Because I would say that like if one of them has you pinned, like everyone around you would have advantage on the attack, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The Scrag is just an insanely gross, weird, unarmed
Face hugger.
weird thing. Yeah. Keep going down. Shambler we looked at earlier. The Necro Crud, Vor, Wraithfish. So what was the big bad? That was one of the stats that I really wanted to look at. Was it the Ogre is HD 3? I think it was like Chthonic thing in the beginning. The Fiend is only HD 3.
The Shambler is HD 10 plus 6.
Is it?
Yeah, the Shambler is the big boy.
Yeah, HD is for the Knight is 1. Yeah, and the Champion of Chthonist. Okay, so yeah, so Shambler. Where we got? Where is that Shambler boy?
Up.
Oh God. Oh, here he is. Okay, so holy shit. HD 10 plus 6, armor 3, no morale, minus 20 gib, bolt of inner power, 5d10, claw swipes 2 times 2d6, titanic frame, they only take half damage from any explosive weapon, and the bolt thrower. If a Shambler can see a ranger, it can attack with near unerring accuracy. All bolt attacks from a Shambler against a ranger that is not in cover are treated as though the ranger has a crappy dexterity of 18. Ignore the powerful opponent's rule.
I just realized why. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you can still be alive at minus 20. 21 is when you die, according to Stay Frosty's rules. So an enemy would have to hit you for minimum 13 damage to kill you, to jib you as a player character. Because you can still be alive and doing shit at 20 at one of your attributes being 20. So I was just looking at his damage and being like, how could he do at minimum 24 damage, be able to hit you for 32 plus? But then I realized you could still be alive at minus 20.
And you can stack up your stats to get there. It stays up there. See, look at us. See, you just got to keep reading the book and we'll get there eventually. Yeah. So that's bad guys. There's a whole section here on building new monsters, which I fucking love, and I think it's perfect for this. Cool. You roll a base form, you roll armor, you roll special abilities. This would be pretty fun to just sit down and roll up a shitload of these. Talks about morale and attacks, talks about it gives you hand-to-hand attacks, ranged attacks. And it also talks about how to build missions and campaigns, including a whole campaign advice table. Like, this is such a well fucking put together book of all the resources and things that you need. Like, this is one of my favorite. Like, I think this is one of the best done books overall for tabletop role-playing games that I've read in a while, in that it gives you all the resources you need, all the lore you need. Like, it's got the navigation tools, it's got all sorts of stuff, and then it goes down into the Flayed Domain, which is an adventure for level 1 rangers. So it's got intro adventure with more big bad guys, beautiful fucking art. Again, we're gonna scroll quick because the Death Lord, oh my god, dude. I love that though. In the introductory adventure, they have their own monster that they made for it. Like, they didn't just use the shit that was in the book already, they just made their own. Like, it was like, that right there is a great example of how you can run the game too. Like, here's, we already listed a bunch of shit, but like, here's one we made ourselves using the tables we made for you to do the same thing, and here's an example of it in the adventure we provided you. Like, that's great, spectacular, so fucking good. And then the maps used in it are literally like 16-bit old school, like fucking, like, so good, perfect. I mean, as soon as I said that, I was like, that's fucking perfect. You couldn't have done them any other way. And what's cool too is that the maps for this, I mean, they're obviously in the book, but they're on Drive-Thru RPG. So you can, for like $1.25 or some shit, go buy all the maps you need to run this adventure. So what adventure do you think we're gonna be running, guys? And then I love this. I love the page at the back that's got Andrew, Paul, and Ambika in like that weird, like exactly how I imagine that the creators put themselves into the game at the end of the fucking Doom and shit. So good. And then the back page is a picture of the Death Lord, all colored with some cool stuff on the back. So that's fucking Slipgate Chokepoint. Such a good fucking game. Fucking so good. Let's play it sooner than later. I'm so down. This gave me so much inspiration for something that I'm working on, and every time I read it, I find another piece of inspiration where I'm like, this could be adapted really easily. So this is fantastic. So this is clearly long enough. We're going to do, I think, the second scores of review here. The second scoring of a game this year, because man, we've really been doing a lot more interviews, which were really oh yeah, you have to. So so for those that don't know, we are ostensibly a game review podcast, and for games that are big enough, and we're still trying to figure out a way to score zines. I think we've narrowed it down to like just using 3 instead of 5, so basically 3 stats instead of 5 for the score, so we out of 30 instead of 50. But basically, when we review a game, and we did change this from the beginning. Before, each one was worth 5, now they're worth 10. We did that, I think, after episode 10. So Slipgate, for example, to explain our scoring system, there are 5 scores with a total of up to 10 points each. So for a total potential score of 50 points, it is art and style, which is both the amount of art that's in a book and the style in which it's used. And then the way we score is also what's the word I'm looking for? It's compared to other games. So some scores, as we've reviewed more games, and we've gone back and increased or decreased scores because we've looked at more games. So for art and style, 10 is literally basically a fucking art book. Like the way that the words are written are put into the art. It's almost difficult to read it because it's so art heavy. And then style obviously is style. So I think the only one that got a 10 last year was like Merkborg, which, I mean, because again, like half the rules are in the art. Or things like Warpland got high scores. Layout and function is it's not layout as in the visual layout. That would be put into the style section. But layout and function are the readability of a book. Function is the navigation tools, things like that. So it's really about how it's actually laid out in order to get the information to you. Same with function. Rule set and crunch is if it is an adapted system, how well is adapted? If it's a new system, how good is it really? How much do we like it? And crunch is just a level of like, do we feel like it either, if it says rules light, is it rules light? Or do we feel like there are the number of rules you need? Do we feel like there could be a little bit more, a little bit less? Originality is a pretty broad one that's pretty subjective. It's really a mix of all of those things together, including the lore, genre, all that kind of stuff together. And value is not only how much does a book individually cost to you, but what else do you get with it? Do you get third-party licenses? Is there a lot of third-party content? Are there maps that you can buy? Is there an intro adventure? What's the bang for your buck really is what it is. So those are the scores for that. So we're going to kick it off with art and style. So, I mean, Andrew Walter's art is fucking amazing, and the book is jam-packed.
Yeah.
Jam-fucking-packed. I mean, how do you feel about the art and style? What would you have to say on it?
I mean, the art is incredible. Like you said, the only problems I have with the book's art and style is I don't like the font. For me, so it's difficult to read only because of the actual font choice. And I understand.
I would say that I think that's a layout thing, though, as opposed to style. Yeah.
Okay. Then we'll stick. Oh, let's see. Let me pop it back open here and just take quick. I mean, I guess if we're gonna just go with the actual I'd have to give it like a 7 or an 8 because it's not. I mean, I don't know. Maybe.
Gosh, so I mean, here's the thing. Every white space is filled with art, which I love. Yeah. It's super important. There are pages of full art, I would say, and this is just because we have to put things across, right? It's not full color, right? The only color is the covers. Yeah. Yep. Actually, there's red around the ammo choices, but yeah, so that's it. So that's really, as far as like how good is the art, it's fucking fantastic. How does the style fit the genre? I don't know if you could really do better fucking art for style, right? So a couple of points off because it's not full color. Not a couple of points, but I think a point off or it's not full color. Another point I would say off because it's really, again, like to get to a 10, and this is subjectively just for art, not the book as a whole. That's why you have to look at the total score at the end, everybody listening, right? It's not like the rules don't ever cross into the art. You know, it's not like that the art and the rules combine, so that really drops it down for me. Comparing it to what we often do too is compare it to previous ones. So the last one we really gave a score to was like the Electrum Archive, which I feel like is similar to this. The art style is fucking amazing, but it is black and white, and there's no part where the art is kind of combined with the game itself, and we gave that an 8. So yeah, I would feel comfortable giving this a solid 8 just because how good the art is. The fact that, again, like one of those first pages early on, I'm actually going to kick back to that. Like this page here early on with like the full page of that creature with like the eating it and the full page art pieces. I mean, I just don't see how it could get much lower than that. What are your feelings on?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with no color. I would say they had, if they printed, when they print this, they would have had to pay for color because of the red outlines around the tokens. So if there were other color options, I would have wanted to see that. But then again, color's fucking hard to do if you're painting, and you know, Andrew did excellent job with all the shading. So I think 8's fine. I might even be happy going to a 9, but I would stick with an 8 probably just to be, you know, I don't want to be too excited about it.
Yeah, we're trying to be a little bit. I mean, we
trying to be a little bit critical.
I think last year, I think we did a really damn good job. But I think there were times where we were like a little bit lenient with a couple of things. We're trying to be a little bit more consistent. I think 8 feels really good because honestly, like this is better than a lot of the tabletop books I get. And, you know, I think 8 is really peak until you get into basically fucking art punk books. So I think that's the good one. So layout and function. So you were saying about the font choice.
Right. I don't like the font choice. It's not a bad font. I just personally, as Kirby, this font is just a little bit hard for me to read because of the strange mix. I'm not sure which one it is. I'm actually curious. I might actually ask Andrew later. But there's the mix of serifs and like sans serif style. It's like a combination of both. Is kind of hard for me personally to read. But my main problem was with the character sheet. I did not like the font that they chose for the character sheet. It's a cool font, but I just personally, I was like, meh. So like as far as like layout, but everything else, like the function and the hyperlinks and the bookmarks and all that stuff, the way that the book is actually laid out itself, all the sections being delineated. I personally am also a big fan of bold, italic, and underlines. I know a lot of people hate that stuff in rules books, but for someone like me who actually has a problem reading because of my ADHD, when there is a lot of, whenever a keyword is bolded, it makes it easier for me to breeze through a rule book. Like I read this entire book in I don't know, 25 minutes or 30 minutes. And that's with the font actually giving me some focus issues. So I will say that bumps up my personal score for the layout and stuff pretty significantly. I'd be giving this an 8 for my end, even with the negativity on the character sheet and the font choice.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all on the font choice. I do. Again, same. I have pretty bad ADHD, and I know when I write stuff, like my shit's bolded and underlined like crazy for that exact reason. Is because I feel like, you know, there's a good emphasis, and it also breaks up. Like I'm a fast reader, but I'm also a skimmer. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I can go through. Yeah, and this makes you stop and go, wait, that's important. Wait, that's important. Wait, that's important. And it really, like you said, it really helps to take in the information a lot easier. But I don't disagree with you about the font choice. I think even more than anything with the font choice is the kerning, I think, if I'm using the term correctly. Like it's just,
or the leading. Maybe the leading.
You know what I
don't between words.
Okay, so yeah, and I think I think it has, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just the amount of spacing between the words it is, but I don't like when things are justified. I don't like when like it will always fill up the space by changing the amount of spaces in between. But I don't know if I
justified.
Yeah, I don't know if I see that as much as I see. No, yeah, because there are some differences in the spacing. It makes my brain hurt. Like when I see things justified, I'm like, just keep the same consistent amount of space between each one. So I would say, yeah, really realistically, as far as layout and function, that's one of my only real knocks. And then at that point, what we do is compare it to something else. So it's almost like a lot of times I'll start at 5 and go up instead of starting at 10 and going down, because basically nothing will be Troika, so nothing gets a 10. Like, and then because Troika not only has the content link on every page, on the opposite page it has the link back to the chapter, but also every chapter is the page color is actually different on each chapter in the PDF and in the book. So nothing gets a 10. The closest thing that I've ever seen is Death in Space, which does have color coded chapters. It just doesn't have the hyperlink back to each individual chapter. So really scores start at 8s and 9s. But the fact that it's got, I mean, just functionality wise, the fact that it's got bookmarks, hyperlinks, inline hyperlinks, a content link on every single fucking page, it tickles me to no end. It's really amazing. I think the book is laid out well in a readable way as far as black on white, not a huge swath of like white spaces, which I feel is really disruptive when reading. I do think the same as you. I think the only real knock is I get why the fonts were chosen, because I feel like they're thematic, but I do think that there is a level of a little bit of a readability thing. Not too bad, but I would say that. So yeah, but I still think regardless of that, I think an 8 is a really solid number for this. I would be super happy giving it that. I think that you're always going to win me over with having hyperlinks. So 8 solid. So
I gotta remember that.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I will say that if my lasting legacy is, and I'm not going to say the names, I've had at least 4 creators message me and tell me that they specifically went back and put hyperlinks in their book before they released it, or added more hyperlinks and bookmarks because I give so much shit about it. So you're welcome, community. Keep hyperlinking your shit. It's 2023. If you're going to put out a PDF, make it navigable. And if you can afford a bookmark in a regular one, that's being picky. That's a bonus, not a reduction for that. Anyway, so rule set and crunch. So this is the hack of a hack of a hack, right? Regardless, I feel like even with that, it feels like its own thing. You know what I mean? Like it is so separate from Stay Frosty that if they would have just put in like we said, maybe not even a page worth of extra bits here and there, they could have completely separated themselves.
Would this be originality?
Maybe in parts, because originality kind of covers all of the scores. But as far as rule set, though, obviously we love it.
Yeah,
obviously we love it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that despite it carrying over rules from Stay Frosty, but at this point, there's such. It's been mutated so much from the Black Hack that the only thing that I even know or can instantly see is the way that usage die are used. And in this, it's barely even noticeable. Because and it's carrying over rules from Stay Frosty, which I feel like I don't know where I would dock points for the not putting them in. I would say honestly in this section in the rule set, because I just feel like I wish that they just carried those 3 lines of text over, because I think it literally might have been 3 times that they mentioned it. But even with that, like, it's not the game is not difficult despite having a lot of fucking rules.
Well, I don't even think it's got that many. It's only 30 pages.
It's not really rules as much as it is guidelines for how various things can work, or options, I guess. Really, a lot of it is options. Yeah, I think that I'm gonna fucking go with. I mean, I want to give it a 10, but I'm gonna be critical.
No rule set has ever gotten a 10, and I don't think anyone ever will.
No, I'm gonna
because we can always
I just it tickles
one thing
me for like childhood, like reminiscent reasons. That's why I'm just like, I just love it.
Yeah. One thing that I find interesting, and I'd be curious to talk to Andrew about it, is, and I'd be curious also to know, like, they made a concerted effort to bring up Stay Frosty as many times as they could. You know what I mean? And I feel like they didn't need to. Not in a bad way. I'm just saying, I'm curious why, because it doesn't even say, they could have just said Slipgate Chokepoint, but it even specifically says that it is a Stay Frosty supplement.
Yeah.
Right? As opposed to, and it specifically says, like, when they easily could have just put those rules in here, they said you have to have Stay Frosty to play it, which is an interesting choice. So I'm curious if they're, like, the intent behind that. And I wonder if it's because there's not, like, a third-party license, but I'm pretty sure that there is in this, or if they reached out to Corey or what. Actually, I don't see anything in here that says that they can. So I'm just really curious why they didn't just write in the front cover, you know, inspired by, say, Frosty or something like that. Like, that's what's really interesting to me. But I do think that there is a little bit of a knock for having to, for easily being able to have those rules in and not, like, that does, we did bring that up numerous times, and we did have to, on more than one occasion, go back to the other one, read the thing, and do it again. I think crunch wise, I think it's perfect. I don't think I would want any less guidance or options, and but I do think if you had, like, you know, even more, I feel like it would be unnecessary. I feel like it's light but gets out of its own way, like you said. I feel like there are a lot of mechanics in it where we just went, like, that's so fucking cool, right? Jibbing is so fucking cool. Stunt dice is so fucking cool. Like, there's so many times, even in the mechanics, where we were like, that they did that in such a good way. That's a clever way to do that. So I think as far as a rule set and crunch goes, as far as an adaptation, I mean, especially in the mode that my brain is in, as far as, like, really being into combat games, I think eight is I think this is one of the games where it's an 8, and once we get it to the table and play it, we might come back and call it a 9.
Yeah, you know? I totally agree with you, because I feel like once you feel the rules being, like, implemented, it's gonna be even better. They did such a good job with, like, and I feel like it's the kind of game that I want to make shit for. Like, I want to make a book of fucking power up items and, like, weapons and stuff. Like, I want to do that. I just want to make a book of weapons for Slipgate Chokepoint. Like, I feel like that would just be so much fucking fun to do.
Yeah, I'm trying to go back and look at games where we actually gave 9s to, and, you know, I think in comparison, 8 feels good, because we only have a couple of games we gave 9s to, and we're talking about Kingdoms, which is my favorite game. Like, I can't, like, it's so good. We're talking about Necronautilus, which, when you really sit and read what Adam did with Necronautilus, the way that words are used and the way that, like, it's so fucking good. That between Kingdoms and Necronautilus, those are probably the two closest to 10s that me and Hunter have ever like, got to saying. I mean, Frontier Scum got a 9 too, because I also think that one is fucking genius. Carl Drew did an amazing fucking job. Those are probably the closest we ever got, and the problem too is it's just, like, different, like, tastes, I think, keep us from getting a 10. But I think 8 feels really good, because I think this doesn't quite have the depth of some of those other games, even though the way what they did with what they did, I think, in my opinion, perfectly. So I think 8 feels really good for this too.
Yeah.
All right, so originality is kind of a combination of all of this stuff. So the lore mixed with the art, mixed with the rule set, mixed with all of that. So a lot of the ways that I start thinking of originality, I just go, has this been done before? And then you go kind of like yes or no, and then it's like, but has it been done in this way before? So I'm trying to think of, has there been a Doom or Quake or 90s FPS action heavy combat game been done before that you can think of?
Not that I know of. I know of several games that have tried to emulate newer video games and first person shooters and stuff, and ARPGs and such, but I genuinely cannot think of one off the top of my head that emulates the early 90s stuff. And holy hell, does this emulate it, like,
So well,
like, so so well. Like the
And
way that
that's
we went over it for 2 hours now, but like just the way that even the way that some of the rules just are written and don't even have flavor attached to them, but just the way that they exist on the page emulates the fucking gameplay of the game that it's trying to. It just is. It's just so good.
it's so good,
I
and
I
it's
would honestly give the originality for this a 10. For that, in my opinion, I'm gonna give it a 10. I don't care what your rules are.
okay. All right. Well, I thank you for the insight. No, the I agree for the most part. I mean, here's the thing: is like I don't. Again, we're not going to get into the discourse again, but I feel like there are people that would knock this for trying to emulate a video game, and I don't understand why they would, because like first of all, those video games are fucking fun. So you're telling me that I can do all of the fun shit I can do in that video game, but then have the freedom to do it at the table, so I can make choices that aren't like stuck by code that was written in the 1990s. Like I can do whatever I fucking want. I can not only can I do whatever the fuck I want, like with the stunts, I literally can decide whatever cool batshit crazy shit I want to do and even try to do that. Like I think that's a massive bonus, not a flaw to try to emulate something. And this isn't like one of those things where it's like, I'm not a huge fan when people try to emulate reality so much. It's just like, well, an arrow wouldn't do that. I don't care, it's a fucking game, right? But like Doom is also not trying to emulate reality. It's because you're not battling demonic eldritch horrors in real life yet. But like I do think that gosh, yeah, I mean, between the art, between so much of the game, between the rule set, like the lore, even when you actually really dig deep into like the Flay domain and read the adventures and stuff, I think it's really, really well done. So what we do at this point really is look at previous games and then compare it and go, what else has got 9s and 10s? Do we think that this is more so or less than that? And really, I think there's only been 1 or 2 10s for originality, and I think they might both be from the same person. I think that both Necronautilus and Cyber Metal are the only 10s we've ever given for originality. And if we look at 9s comparatively, we're looking at things like Kingdoms. We're looking at Viking Death Squad, which is actually a really fun, insane. This actually reminds me of this a tiny bit, but you're literally 10,000 years in the future as undead Viking warriors brought back to life to battle like a demonic alien invasion. Cyborg, we actually gave a 9 to, because we think that the way that Cyborg did Cyberpunk was a really unique, interesting way. And that's really it as far as like 9s and 10s, you know?
To defend my score choice, I really do think that this is just in its own category. Like that's one of the reasons why I feel like a 10 works for me. Is just there is no other. I'm not personally a fan of people video gamifying RPGs, as I said in the beginning of this whole stream, but it just did it so well, and I cannot think of any other RPG that I would play or that I can even think of that even remotely does that video game style so well. So that's why I'm going to give it a 10.
Yeah. Not only that, though, too, it's also like, name me another game that feels this like combat centric without having to dive into like 4E giving you cards to keep track of all of your powers. Or because to me this is a combat focused game that doesn't feel like a skirmish game. Like it doesn't feel like a skirmish game at all, but every aspect of this is designed to have you kill and murder and keep going and be in combat and go and go and go.
Murder game.
You know, I'm gonna go ahead and say 10 with you, because I feel like my brain wants to say 9, but my heart wants to say 10. I fucking love this game. This is the reason that I've wanted to go over this game for quite a while now, and it's because it's fucking good. Value wise, okay, so what is the, how do you even fucking get this game right now? I don't even remember where I bought this. So
I honestly don't fucking know.
let's go to Slipgate Chokepoint. We can go to, there's a drive-through RPG one, and then I don't know of anyone where what's up?
It's $7.
Yeah, $7.15 on drive-through, and it's $8.17 on Andrew's itch page. Oh, and the physical version can be bought direct from the author or from Igloo Tree. So clicking on direct from the author, Slipgate Chokepoint is £20. Gosh, is there any more?
Exalted Funeral.
$30 at Exalted, and how much is it on Igloo? £20 on Exalted, which, man, that's a little expensive on Exalted then, because the pound is not that much more than the dollar right now. Gosh, Andrew's page is so fucking good. If you are listening to this at all, go check out Andrew's like itch page, check out their art. They're a fucking amazing asset to the ttrpg community, and it's absolutely amazing. So that's,
you're paying 25 at Igloo Tree USD, but you're also going to be paying a shit ton of money in shipping.
Yeah.
So
you can get it at Monkey Paw for 37 Canadian, which drops it to like 30ish bucks, but then you pay $15 for Canadian. So $30 from Exalted. It's the cheapest way that you're going to get it. Or again, $8.17 for the PDF directly from Andrew, or $7.15 from that. I think, 30. I mean, how many pages is this thing? 84 pages.
84. Yeah, 84
pages.
It's
80. Yeah, it's like 80 pages. I think that for a fat perfect pen, God, I would buy this in hardback. I think that's a solid. I think that's a pretty bang average value. I think that's a solid. That's exactly what I would charge for it. I think it's a pretty inexpensive PDF though. I think minimum that I would expect this PDF to be is honestly $10 to $15 for a book of this size. So that's a great value there. So that's a point up right there.
The fact that it comes with an adventure. It comes with monster creation tables. Rules for how to run and write adventures, rules for how to adjudicate rules, or not rules, guidelines for how to adjudicate rules, and then all that stuff. The only negativity or downside to the value, in my opinion, is the fact that it doesn't just have the Stay Frosty rules included in it.
Yeah. But I mean, and I don't disagree with that, but let's click on Stay Frosty and see. It is $3.49.
Yeah.
So, I mean, relatively inexpensive, but you do have to add that into the cost of the PDF. And if you do, you roughly get $10. So still pretty average. I don't see, and again, like, I know licensing is a big important thing right now, but there isn't anything in Stay Frosty or in this that specifically says like do what you want. There is a thing that just, it's got the standard like redistribution without prior consent is prohibited. So there's nothing that says do what you want with the game. So I'd be curious about making more content for it and what the rules would be to that. We'd have to reach out to Andrew to find out that. So there's no specific third-party license. I don't see a lot of other third-party content written for it outside of that. There is another book though. There is an adventure already written. It's called Electronics. It is a Slipgate Chokepoint adventure written by Andrew Walter with another just fucking amazing batch of art on the front. It is another 64 pages, roughly the same cost as the other stuff. I will say the adventure does have color art in it though, but we're not rating the adventure, but it does exist, so that's fucking cool. I mean, as far as value wise, I love that you can get the maps for like $1. So the entire thing on PDF with Stay Frosty, Slipgate, and the maps is going to rough you like $12. I mean, great value. Honestly, Andrew, do me a solid, print this in hardback, and if you really wanted to do me more of a solid, just put these two together in one combined hardback version, and I would buy the fuck out of this.
Make sure you put 2 ribbon bookmarks in it.
Yeah, and add Stay Frosty as an add-on. So I think it's about average value. I mean, I would honestly put this probably about like a 6 maybe. As far as value, I don't think there's anything crazy above and beyond. I love that you can get the maps, but I think it's 5 is not bad. It's just average, right? That's how that we talk about this a lot. I would probably put this right around like between a 6 and a 7. What are your thoughts on that?
I was gonna say 7 just because I feel like it's good. It's slightly above average in my opinion. But I think I'm just letting my love
Yeah.
for it start to cloud my
Yeah.
judgment.
I think we'll go 6 because I think
Yeah,
like value wise, I think it's good for the
it's
PDF.
average.
But I don't feel like you can just get the PDF because you also have to get the Stay Frosty PDF and then you can get
Yeah.
the map. So
Yeah.
I feel like the cost of the book is average. There's not a whole lot of extra stuff. There is an adventure you can buy. We'll give it a point up for that, and we'll give this a 6, which unfortunately will drop the overall score. But if you look at all the rest of it, I mean, gosh, it's fucking stacked. So math, because I can't do basic math, so we got 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 10 plus 6.
40.
We're looking at a 40. Fuck me. For a game that got one score as a 6, 40 is crazy. I think the highest score we've ever given out is a 44. And very few games have gotten a 40 or up. I honestly think it's less than 5 or 6 games, and we've rated close to 50, 60 games at this point. So yeah, we said 40, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So honestly, outside of the value, which could easily go up because that could change just by literally being, oh yeah, third party shit, whatever, or like here's another little thing. I think 40 for this is exactly where I feel like it should be. And honestly, it's one of my favorite games I've ever. I would put this in top 5 game, like honestly, easily.
Yeah,
Put this
honestly,
in the top 5
after
game.
reading it the first time, I immediately knew that this was. I'm gonna buy the fucking physical copy. I'm gonna buy the adventure book. I'm going to make stuff for this, and I'm going to give Andrew Walter my money because it's just shit.
Everyone, go give Andrew Walter your money. I mean, not only the art, again, I mean, honestly, buy anything from Troika and you'll see Andrew's art all over it. There's a reason that all the books are fucking gorgeous. But like making their own stuff with this, Andrew, make more stuff. Make more stuff for this. When did this come out? 2020, because it says AW20 on the front. When did Electronics come out? That would be 2021. So it's been a couple of years. I think it's time for more, Andrew. So if you're listening, honestly, seriously, and Paul, so Paul Cronin also wrote this as well. And then there is another person. We want to make sure. So Andrew, Paul, and Ambika are all in. I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I was just saying Ambika.
Ambika Kirkland, Andrew Walter, and Paul Cronin, all amazing. This does say Andrew Walter just on the cover of that one, but honestly, amazing. The book is amazing. Andrew's art is amazing. You did amazing fucking job at this. Good fucking job. In case you ever listen to this, would love to play the shit out of this. Will be playing this sooner than later, especially now that I have another devotee. So thank you. That was Slipgate Chokepoint. This is it. Kirby, where can people find all of Disaster Tourism stuff?
You can find my stuff at disastertourism.games. We've got a bunch of cool stuff coming out very, very soon. Guild is about to be published physically and digitally, waiting on some final proofs for edits and the adventure book to be edited up. And then we're going to be sending that out and fulfilling that from our Kickstarter, but we will also be obviously selling it on our website. I've got a few other books on my website right now. I've got a really just spectacular mothership. I don't like to toot my own horn, but this mothership adventure that I'm about to publish with Space Penguin is coming out this month, and it's really fucking good. So I'm really excited about that. Got some other cool stuff happening in the near future, but you can follow me on Twitter at ttrpgs. I have a Substack stuff. Cool.
Yeah, the dead horse and all that. Yeah,
the dead horse. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So this is Kirby Franklin, Disaster Tourism, amazing friend of the show, amazing content creator. This is definitely buy all the shit. Go to the website, buy all the shit. It's fantastic. And we are the Weekly Scroll here on the Adventure Archive. You can find us at the.weekly.scroll on Instagram. I promise, for the love of God, I will be updating it soon. I haven't since like December. You can find us on Twitter. That's where you find most of our stuff and all of our announcements at weekly_scroll. And you can find our parent brand, I guess, The Adventure Archive on YouTube. Do us a favor, if you're listening or watching, go over there, drop us a sub. We're really trying to we passed 700 subs recently, which is something I never thought we would do, and that's really cool. So go check us out there, and you can find other things on our channel as well. On Tuesdays we do Seance with Source of Victory, which is a Death Trap dungeon design stream. A lot of amazing design content stuff that's really great to listen to. And right now we're running Cyborg on Thursdays. That's where you can find here on the Adventure Archive. Thank you for being in chat. Really appreciate that. Thank you for listening. And Kirby, thank you so much for coming on. This was a really super fun episode. It was great to talk and pick your brain and hear your thoughts. So that's it. That's our episode. So everyone, you all have a wonderful day, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.